Well. Shucks, my foes. Let me go take a quick run over to YouTube, make sure that we are live. If you think we are live, or we are live, let me know in the in chat, because I would like to know that we are live. If you think anybody here still in chat, I'm gonna unhook the sharing the screen. Excuse me, caught a little something this week. Caught a little something this week. Josh Tomaszewski, we are live. Thank you, Josh. If anybody's having any issues with game chat, with the YouTube chat, let me know. A little under an hour of Panther post game to go today. We're gonna talk it up. I'm gonna highlight some DMs that I've been getting. I'm gonna highlight some posts from the message board. We're gonna talk mostly about this basketball game, and we're gonna see what we can get. If anybody wants to comment, we are in the Horizon Roundtable Discord in the stream. Pop in if you like, say a little something if you want to talk, and then we'll go from there. MKE MBB drops a heartbreaker on the road to UCF. MBB 8476. Panthers game is live. And let's drop the YouTube and post it. We're going to copy that link. We're going to drop that in the message board. Make sure that we call it Twitter, because otherwise they won't read that. And here we are. The first comment goes to Josh Tomaszewski's. Second comment, that's an actual comment, comes from Sarah Jackson. Sarah says, we need Eric Pratt back ASAP, as soon as possible, she says. Yeah, I don't know how much Eric Pratt would have helped you get over the top tonight in this game against UCF. There are a couple reasons why you may not consider that to be a couple reasons. Number one, Eric Pratt does turn the ball over some, and that was not a spot of success for Milwaukee tonight. Also, Eric Pratt wouldn't have been guarding Darius Johnson, who turned into Steph Curry for reasons unbeknownst to anyone today. A game that was close throughout. UCF went up by as much as 7 or 8 at points. In fact, that 8 is the final final distance. Is that that might be the largest lead for either team tonight. That would be interesting. That would be interesting. Everybody say hello to Sirius's Tail. It is what are you going to say? It was a tough game. Darius Johnson went 8 for 10 from the field. A couple of those were shots that he made with hands in his face. A bunch of them were wide open 3-pointers. So I always expect if you're gonna go if you leave a good shooter wide open, all the time, and he takes 10 3-pointers, you expect maybe six would go in, 7 on a good night. He made 8. At some point, there was just a little, but even when they weren't giving him space, he was swishing them. Every single one of those 8 3-pointers was a swish. I don't think anybody even is talking about that part. I'm going to talk about that part. You want Eric Pratt back. We want him for the offense. The offense needed his, his backdoor cuts. The offense needed his shooting tonight. And I think, Sarah, that's probably where your point makes the most amount of sense. The Panthers were 8 of 22 from 3. That is 36.4%. That is acceptable. But Eric, you'd have to think that Eric Pratt would be elevating that percentage. Maybe instead of 8 of 22, maybe you're looking at 10 of 22, and all of a sudden it's a game. This really wasn't a bad game by any stretch. The turnovers in the first half were terrible. In the second half, they were a lot better. And then towards the end of the second half, there were just a couple. I think there was a little bit of excitement from the Panthers trying to give themselves an opportunity. Trying to give themselves an opportunity to win. It's tough. I do think they kind of forced it a bit with the. I do think they kind of forced it a bit at the after the when the game was coming down towards the end. It's just it kind of is what it is. The Panthers. What are you gonna do, man? What are you going to do? Rolling through here on the box score. I take the blame for saying UCF can't shoot. Yeah, Frank, it's your fault. And we don't have to look into it any more than that. Everybody, Frank has taken the blame. So it's his fault. His fault. Game over. We don't have to talk. That was a nice, good post-game press, or not press, but post-game show for Panther U. And now we know everything. We don't need to talk about it anymore. Thank you for the subscription, 33 Habs. If you are not subscribed yet, please subscribe to the Panther U channel. We love your subscriptions, and we would like to, get more of them because we'd like to do some cool Panther content over the course of the season. The more subscriptions we have, the more we get into other stuff. There we go. Sarah also says, Fulks and McKee had an off night as well. Yes. You go into the Milwaukee box score. You can see Themis Fulks right here, 5 of 14 from the field. Nah, not gonna do it. You want the efficiency? Again, I brought this up after the UNI game at the beginning of the season. You don't really want your star point guard being the guy who is putting up the most shot attempts. And I do think that there were a couple of times where Fulks was trying to force some shots, but again, he's the professional. I'm not a professional. I'll defer to Themis Fulks. The turnovers were rough, but he only had 3 of them, considering how rough of a offense he's had this year. 3 turnovers is actually not rough for him. The 6 assists to 3 turnovers is a decent clip. 2 of 3 from 3 is good. 2 rebounds are acceptable when we out rebounded as Matt, is it Clavette or Clavet? Or is it Clavette? Clevete. I don't know exactly how to pronounce your name, but I think I'm going with Clevette. Matt saying, given being shorthanded, we can't be too upset. Few too many turnovers, but love that we out-rebounded a Big 12 team 41-31. Yes. Yes, that is true. I would say Panther of the game is probably Mr. JaMychal Stillwell with 14 and 12. 6 of 9 from the field in 32 minutes. You know, the 3 fouls, that last foul that Stillwell had was pretty bad, but I think the game was pretty much in hand at that point for UCF. I mean, you could tell towards the end of the game when that Johnson guy hit his 8th three-pointer, I was looking around like, what the hell are you supposed to do with that? Like, this guy is just, he was just having himself a game, man. I would not be surprised to find out that is the best game that guy's ever played. Sarah says we put up a good fight. Number 52 didn't play. He was a starter. Yeah, that's the 7'2" guy. You can say, well, hey, the 7'2" guy didn't play, so if he did, we wouldn't have done as well. Well, if Faison Fields was healthy and playing, we wouldn't have done. You know, this is basketball. Injuries happen. You know, things happen. Guys can't play for whatever reason. Sometimes you know what those reasons are. Sometimes you don't. He was cooking 35, big ass. Yes. Yes. You are correct. The Isaiah White 3-pointer was nice to see. He did not have a bunch of turnovers. In fact, he didn't have 1 turnover, but he also only played 7 minutes. Johnny Lovelace had a rough turnover, but also kind of an off night from the field, at least. Darius is 4 of 5 from the field was okay. Those 2 turnovers, especially that last one, were pretty biting for the team. That one where he kind of gave it away with, you know, was it like 2 or 3 minutes left? I just think that the Panthers got towards the end of the game and realized that, you know, I think they got to the end of the game and realized that they had a shot, they had a moment, and I think they just kind of fumbled the bag a bit. Much love to Stillwell, 100%. While the promise of JaMychal Stillwell being a knockdown 3-point shooter has not shown itself this season, it may have been an exaggeration to us. He is a dog down low. He is an absolute beast in the paint. Also 5 games in 9 days. Yes, Frank is correct about that. 9 days, 5 games. Holiday tomorrow. All of those things, you know, I would consider to be excuses, and I think the team would too. And they were in it until the last 2 minutes of the game when it looked like UCF really had it decided. 38 minutes ain't bad, guys. I don't think any of us are walking away from this game tonight thinking this team isn't good. This team is good. This team is going to really challenge for a Horizon League title. We're hopefully going to get into the tournament and make some noise. That's what we want to do. Frank and I have our plane tickets to San Antonio for the Final Four. We got to make those right. I have to move so you can see my eyebrows. AJ McHugh is 5 of 13 from the field, 2 of 6 from 3. That's a guy who I think is kind of kicking himself tonight. He had a couple of nice defensive plays, but overall, AJ had another. Don't call it a stinker. That's not true. I think he's a guy. You can see how he carries himself personally. You can see he is somebody who expects more of himself than maybe everybody else does. So I think I think he's a guy who wanted more for himself, more out of himself tonight. And it's too bad, but it is what it is. Luke Dadian says, still wondering why we didn't give Johnson a different look with Lyric. That is a very good point. There's a very good point. I don't know if so. Lyric is Lyric to me is, if he's not our best defender, he's one of our 2 or 3 best defenders. And I do think that if he had been on the floor, I think he would have done better defending Darius Johnson, but also at the same time, I don't know if he quite had the foot speed to keep up with him. That's just my guess. I get his offensive skills set isn't there. Yeah, but is Johnny Lovelace's offensive skill set there? Johnny's really good at the putback dunks, but I don't know if I see Johnny. I don't know if I see Johnny really, doing a lot of stuff offensively. I think part of it is just Lyric might be a little bit of an odd man out in the rotation, and Lundy might be wanting a shorter rotation to keep things up. I'm with you. I would like to see more. I would like to see more. I would like to see more Lyric Davis on the defensive end. I would like to see more. I just like to see more out of this team. I think that they're a good. I think they're a good basketball team. I think that they put up a hell of a game tonight. I think it wasn't there, and that's okay. Yeah, Johnny's a good defender, good hustler as well. Josh says the loss sucks because the game was winnable, but it gives you reassurance this team is built to compete, hopefully deep into March. Yeah, go back to the Sweet 16 year. Guys like Frank were here. What did we do? In fact, I'm literally going to bring it up right here. Milwaukee Panthers reference. Excuse me. Let's go down to 0405. Let's pull up the schedule. Poll schedule results. Let's get it so you guys can actually see it. You had... Oh, maybe it was a little too big on that. There we go. There we go. Maybe a little hard to see on that end. There we go. Let's do that. And then zoom. But you look at this right around the same time of the season. Loss at Valparaiso, loss at Wisconsin, loss at Kansas, loss to Detroit Mercy. These are, this is so far the best game. This is the best team that Milwaukee's ever had as far as finish to the season. They went to the Sweet 16 of the NCAA tournament. They were ranked 22nd or 23rd in the final poll of the year. And overall, South Dakota State at the time was a transitional member of Division One. They didn't even count. Really, that was like a D2 game. Air Force was a strong win. And Prairie View A&M was a garbage team. The Panthers didn't really play anybody. That St. Louis game was nice. And then when they got into the tougher part of their schedule, they lost some games. The Panthers this year lose to UCF. They lose to UNI. Lose to Lipscomb. It was Lipscomb, right? Yeah. It's a tough beat, but it is what it is. Let's go into the. Let's go into. We're in a split box. Split box? Oh, it was a split box. This guy right here. There's your game right there. One guy. Ivy Curry had 14 points on 5 of 9 shooting, 1 of 4 from 3, 3 of 4 from the line. That's a decent game. Hall, putrid game. Coleman, nothing special. Josias, awful, getting cooked frequently. Taylor, rough. Benny Williams, Who was cooking us? Longwood, that's right, Josh. Who was cooking us? It was Darius Johnson. It was Darius Johnson all night. Maybe they should have figured out, how to get to him on the perimeter and force him inside, because he was only one of 5 inside the arc. Maybe if we could have forced a couple long twos, maybe they would have had a better game there. But there's definitely some tightening up that has to happen defensively. That is 100% something that needs to happen. It is what it is. I'm not going to feel bad about it, Let's see. Let's throw this one up there and go. Whoa. That was more than I wanted to do. The Falks 3-pointer. 2 of 3 from 3. That was a pretty good deal for our point guard tonight. 15 turnovers with half coming from our backcourt was killer. Yes. Yes, you are 100% correct. It's a tough one, but it is what it is. All we can do is, all you can do is kind of move on, try and get a good beat. Let me see where we're at. We're in the score. The next game coming up this weekend is going to be the game at Southern Mississippi, return game. Southern Mississippi is a shadow of who they were last year. They are literally a shadow of who they were last year. Even Andre Curbello's not having a great season, which is surprising because they've got a bunch of seniors. 2-4 right now. The Southern Miss playing against, let's see. Oh, gotta make sure I move this over. Winning against Bowling Green, losing to UAB, beating a Division II or lower division Loyola, Louisiana. No longer Division I because Loyola, Louisiana used to be Division I. And then losses, pretty big loss to South Dakota State in the Summit. The bad one and lately has been this Abilene Christian loss. Abilene Christian's pretty rough. I think we're in a pretty good spot. I think if the Panthers come out and play like they did tonight against UCF, I don't think there's a Darius Johnson on the Southern Miss roster. If Andre Curbelo decides he's going to start, waking up and playing again, maybe. But let's look at his game logs this season. Did not play against Abilene Christian. Only played 14 minutes against Montana State. Only played 24 against South Dakota State. His only game over 30 minutes was against Bowling Green. 16 points, 15 points. Nothing burger. Frank says we moved up 5 spots in the Ken Palm. Let's take a look. We were relatively. UCF is 81 in the Ken Palm now. This Northern Iowa's 116. Where is Longwood? That's where I want to know where Longwood is. Longwood is 178. Milwaukee is 174. Our offensive rating, we're 48th in luck. 179 going into the game. We're up to 174. Thanks for the tip there, Frank. Does anybody have anything nice that they're doing for Thanksgiving tomorrow? I want to know. The Azolina's having a big family Thanksgiving that I'm not invited to. I know you're here. There's 6 of you watching this. I know you guys are doing something for Thanksgiving tomorrow. It's all right. Just to go over one more time. Themis Falks 5-14 from the field, 2 of 3 from 3. 6 assists, 3 turnovers. Jermichael Stillwell, 14 points on 6 of 9 from the field. Missed his only 3-point shot, 12 rebounds. He's going to be your Panther of the game. Kentrell Pullian's going to be number 2 Panther of the game. And I would give the number 3 Panther of the game to... I don't know. We're going to give it to Falks. Mom's cooking for 7 with food for 20. That's how you have to do Thanksgiving, because if you don't do the full like double the food, then number one, if somebody brings somebody extra, you're not, people are going to be rationing food. You want there to be so much food that nobody worries about how much anybody's eating. You want enough food that if the Lemkes roll in and we eat multiple plates apiece, that you're not worried about food being, you're not worried about food being around for everybody. Luke says, push my drive to Michigan tomorrow morning so I can watch the Panthers. You going to is home in the UP or are you in the Mitten? That's what I would ask. Matt says, Matt has a question. Thoughts on the Lundy show starting Monday? Do you think that will help gain student interest? No. No, I don't. That's not a knock at all on that's not a knock on it. I think they should be doing it. I just don't know how much. The one time that we went to, the guest house since they did the remodel was when the Black and Gold Club hosted the watch party for the Providence game last year. We showed up with like 25 people, and we were the only people in the room, other than the student employees. I don't think that's because of us. I think that's because of the I don't think that's because of Lundy or the program. I think that's because the guest house is relatively unpopular. Their food since they did the remodel sucks, or at least it doesn't look like it's anything special. I had like chicken strips, and they were like just cafeteria chicken strips. Luke's from east of Detroit, but you're from Milwaukee. All right. So you going to Canada? Because east of Detroit is Canada. Are you going to Windsor? Is that where you're going for Thanksgiving? Because that's not their Thanksgiving. Canadians call tomorrow American Thanksgiving. They call it Thursday. They have their own Thanksgiving. Or maybe you're going to be in the river. I don't know. Well, would have helped student interest was a win tonight. I'm sorry, but no one cares student-wise about beating Portland State and Wolford respectfully. They would if they would. Only the real ball lovers will respect those wins. A casual fan will not care. I'll say this. When I was a student, especially my freshman year in 05-06, the students would have given a shit about Wolford and Portland State. They would have cared about those games. The first regular season game I went to was a non-D1 game against Upper Iowa University, which is like a fucking online school. And that online school, thanks for the sub, by the way, Luke. That online Upper Iowa school, they drew 600 UWM students to that game. Yeah, I mean, it was a winning team, but like the students cared because they were engaged. I was still, I would say, more of a Badger fan than a Panther fan in fall semester freshman year. And the only reason that I was, really like into it was because I figured I'd spend a couple years being a fan of UWM while I waited to get my grades so I could take the automatic transfer to Madison. Thank God I never did that. But at the same time, like, you easily can see when the games were. I couldn't imagine 600 students showing up to watch North Central, North Park, etc. If you don't believe that, the games you need to go to are not basketball games in November. The games you need to go to are, all right, God, now we're doing the attendance talk that I have been avoiding all week. Now we're going to get into this. Basketball games in November are not how you judge student interest in your athletics program. How you judge student interest in your athletics program is the first 2 weeks on campus. What is your attendance like for soccer and volleyball games? Do you know why that's the case? It's because if students are showing up for soccer and volleyball games, that means they are they are hungry for the engagement of a college athletics program. We don't have a football team, right? Well, we have association football. We do not have an American football team. So soccer and volleyball is how students engage with the program when they first show up on campus as freshmen. That absolutely 100% showed itself this year. My wife and I moved down here. I am on Oakland. I am 2 blocks away from Engelman Field. I was at the I was at almost every soccer game this year, men's and women's. Soccer, by the way, is fantastic. If you like soccer at all, come to the soccer games. If you have season tickets for men's basketball, that covers your ticket to everything else. Just come to the goddamn games. They're fun. And what else are you gonna do? It's the fall. We don't have a football team, and there is no football team in the city. So come watch some Panther soccer. And the only volleyball, I only went to one volleyball game this season. My wife and I went when the Panthers hosted Stanford at the Kalachi Center, and they had 900 students at the game for volleyball. Was Stanford a name? Yeah, kinda. Like, does Stanford really have a national brand to the Gen Z kids who are entering college this year? I don't know if that's true. Like, I think they know Stanford, like they know the name Stanford, but I don't think that 4 out of 5 students could tell you what city Stanford is in. I guess I'm wondering why we can't get those 900 students to Panther Arena. Lack of engagement with them. In fact, we're going to start talking. We're going to bring up a little something else here. We're going to bring up a little conversation that was had with the Cream City Challenge, which has been the Cream City Challenge thread on the UWM Freak Board has been a consistent conversation piece for the attendance, because I mentioned it in a tweet on Friday, and then Saturday and Sunday people were getting increasingly angry about the people were getting increasingly angry about the thread. So Joe Tix, in fact, Frank, who's in this chat right now, had probably the biggest blow up. 142 people liked this tweet. 17 replied to it. Some very important Panthers were really lit up by this tweet on the 23rd, which was what? Was that Friday or Saturday? I think it was Saturday. Frank tweets, "It's pretty sad the students at UWM don't show up to support MKE-MBB. They're missing out on watching an exciting brand of basketball. The players deserve better." 100%. There's a reason that got 142 likes. More than pretty much 95% of tweets from the MKE-MBB Twitter account all season. That is entirely because it was accurate, and attendance, especially student attendance, is something that our fans are looking forward to all game. Now, on occasion, the UWM Freak Board, which is now over 20 years old, I think it had 14K views because a few verified accounts like my own. Verified. I pay Elon. But mine wasn't the only one that boosted it. A bunch of people boosted that tweet. In the 20 years since various people who work for the athletic department have posted on the message board, most of them have chosen to go. Most of them, I know, I'm so awful, but it was fun during the election when I wanted to talk shit to certain people, because then the mouth breathers would get into it. But these athletic department employees will show up. Most of them will have anonymous accounts. Now, I used to be a moderator, so I used to have access to IP addresses, so I used to be able to see who was posting for what. Not that I would actually go look at them, but you could see the IP addresses that were tied to UWM computers. And then some people will post where it's obvious who they are. There was a guy, UWM Guru, was an athletic department employee. I know who it was. I won't say who it was, but he was an athletic department employee who chose to be anonymous. When Chris Zills posts on the message board, he's like I've said a million times before, Chris Zills is a professional. He posts as SID Zills, so you're not wondering, who he is. When this was brought up, the person who probably is at the center of this is Joe Lancer, the ticket office manager for the Milwaukee Panthers. He is a very he's a good kid. He wants to do well at his job. He met with me over the summer to talk about what he can do to make attendance better for basketball games specifically, but some overall. I told him a lot of the same things that I've said to you guys, but he actively wants to do better, and he wanted to open a line of communication with the fans on the Freak board. So he quoted, because Frank then posted his own tweet to the message board, and then he quoted it and responded. This is Joe Lancer, ticket manager for UWM. He's under the username Joe Tix. Thank you for posting that. I was able to read through the replies and quotes and have a few thoughts. A lot of the suggestions of things we should try are things that we're already doing. On-campus promotion, shuttles, texting instead of just emailing, a rewards program. We should certainly strive to improve at the things we're currently doing, but there are a few options we have not explored or tried. I'm going to wait until the end of this read through to, give you my thoughts on it. He says, continuing, say what you want about Amanda Braun. I'm not going to try to change your mind, but there is a healthy, I don't know. I've never seen Frank openly criticize Amanda, so I don't think he was talking to Frank specifically there. He says, I'm not going to try and change your mind, but there is a healthy openness in the athletics department to be collaborative and try new ideas, budget permitting, of course. That isn't always the case at other schools. I'll also add that frustration over low student attendance permeates throughout athletics and starts from the top down, being Amanda down. On that note, our marketing department has spent a considerable amount of time bringing back a mobile app and developing a student rewards program, points for attending games, with a public leaderboard. They also got 900 students to a volleyball match, helping break an attendance record. Given the resources they have to work with, they've done some very impressive stuff. Speaking of resources, what's one thing all best promotions have in common? They're sponsored. Even the Packers, with their massive budgets, every giveaway is sponsored. Aside from Gruber t-shirts, ours really aren't. That's a problem. That being said, our new sponsorship person is fantastic, and I don't have a negative thing to say about her. I also saw a shot taken at our provost, Andrew Dare. In the short time he's been at UWM, he is as supportive a provost as I've seen. He bought season tickets, went to boot camp at 5 a.m., went to the MAC event, and he understands the value of athletics. He's also a great person. If you get a chance to meet him, you'll be impressed. There are schools that have given up trying to attract students. We are not one of them. We might not have figured out the solution yet, but we're trying. Also, I'll know that I'm always open to feedback and new ideas, and I'll relay them as best I can. The first thing I'm going to say is that he is 100% right about Andrew Dare. I don't know who runs the Panther MKE Twitter account that took a shot at Andrew Dare. I think they were just taking a shot at him because he's inside Chapman Hall and he's a vice chancellor, so they figured it's UWM leadership that's not doing whatever they want him to be doing. Andrew Dare is not the person who should draw any ire from any Panther fan. He is relatively new to the program. In fact, this season is the first, his first full season as the provost and vice chancellor for academic affairs for the university. So he has to have a chance to disappoint you first. You know what I'm saying? Also, he's not the vice chancellor of student affairs. He's the vice chancellor of academic affairs. So his job really doesn't pertain directly to this. I will say the fact that he cares, he shows up. He went to at least 2 of the 3 games this weekend because I met him at Major Goolsby's after the game on Friday, and I shook hands with him, and we exchanged tidings after Sunday's win against St. Thomas. He's there. He's present. And he's interested in the program. So the first thing I would say is that Joe's 100% right about Andrew Dare. If I were any Panther fan, if I were giving you guys advice, which I am right now, it's back off of him. He should not be drawing any ire from you. In fact, in my conversation with him on Friday night, I was very impressed. First, he validated a lot of the things that I was saying. And you know how much I love getting validation from people. but really, like, he understands the issues that the program has, and he's willing to, he wants to work through them, and he's already started the ball rolling on a couple of these things. Specifically, the one thing that he had brought up to me on Friday night was they're going to get the individual colleges inside the university more involved in using the athletic department and men's basketball as a tool for themselves, which I've long promoted, because if they're using men's basketball as a tool, that means that they want men's basketball to be better, and they will support men's basketball more, which will increase the support. We need support from all angles inside the university. That has to be, unfortunately, that's not something that's going to be a bottom-up revolution. It has to be top-down. I'm not saying top-down the way Joe's saying, like from Amanda. I'm saying top-down from Mark Money's office on down. The university has to understand that this is a very important they have to understand that this is a very important tool for them to increase applications, increase student engagement, increase student retention in an era where there are fewer college-age students than there have been for generations. So the marketing side of the university has to do a better job, because they need to market the university to outsiders, to kids locally, kids in the region, kids in the state, kids all over the country. And, Vice Chancellor Dare understands, Provost Dare understands the same thing that I've understood for a long time, that you guys understand. Basketball is the front porch of the university. That is how you, put yourself out there. There is a book called The Cinderella Strategy that I recommended to him. I recommend anybody read it. It is written by a couple folks that were at Butler. during the Final Fours. They wrote how Butler University used that to jump things up and get things moving forward. It's a fantastic read. My copy is in storage somewhere. I have no idea where the hell it is. Otherwise, I'd read you a couple passages. I've got them literally. I've got colored paper clips in the spots where I want to have them talk. Going on to what Joe was saying, there's a healthy openness in athletics to be collaborative, try new ideas. They're frustrated about low student attendance. I'm sure they are. Sunday night, when I had my Twitter live video, I'm sure that it was not as well received because I was at one point I was just shouting at the camera. So I think certain people would shut me off at that point, but 300 unique viewers were watching almost that entire stream. So that's why I kept going. His third point. On that note, our marketing department spent a considerable amount of time bringing back a mobile app and developing a student rewards program, points for attending games with a public leaderboard. They also got 900 students to a volleyball match. Forgetting the volleyball student. Given the resources they have to work with, they've done some impressive stuff. I don't know how much an app costs. I would like to know how much the app costs. If I find out how much the app costs, if the app costs the university $1,000 or $10,000, $25,000 or $50,000, it was too much. They had my senior year, I believe it was 09-10, or is it 08-09? The athletic department did have an app that you could download in the Google Play or App Store or Apple App Store. You downloaded the app, you signed up with an email, with your UWM.edu email, and then you checked in when you were at certain games. It took your location to see that you were actually there. And then the more you checked in, the rewards you got. We did not see, the athletic department did not see an increase in student attendance off of that. The leaderboard, because there was a leaderboard in that app too, was me, Kieran Pinch, Jose Matamoros, Chad Canodal. Like it was the same. It was the fans who were there anyways. In fact, it might have been earlier. It might have been before Canodal. It might have been like a John Parker, Travis Wacker era for the athletic program. It helped insofar as students were more open. Students got a little bit extra out of it, but I don't think it really. I don't think it really did anything for the program as far as attendance is concerned. What works with students? All right, you look at it like this. What are some advantages? Name an advantage that the university has in marketing towards their students. The first one that comes to mind for me is they are present and they have to be. So what I mean by that is on a Wednesday afternoon or a Friday afternoon during the semester, if you're walking around on campus, your target audience, the student body, is there. The students are present. There are 24,000 of them. Many of them are there. I would say most of them are there. The university has the student union, which I don't know if anybody watching this knows. The UWM union is the busiest building in the state of Wisconsin. More people walk through the doors of that building than any single building in the entire state of Wisconsin. You might say, well, that doesn't make sense. The Brewers average, a good attendance. The Brewers play 81 home games. You have there are a lot of school days, during spring and fall semesters, where every day you have at least 20,000 people walking through the front doors of the union. UWM had a fantastic billboard. Anybody who's a fan of the Brewers knows, or anybody who watches SportsCenter anywhere in the country would know, that when somebody hit a home run to right field at Miller Park, now American Family Field, you got to see the uwm.edu banner in the visitors' bullpen. That was a fantastic billboard for the university. It was great marketing space. The reason it was great marketing space is because the Brewer highlights were on every single day. So you'd have 81 home games where you would have a very good opportunity of seeing the UWM name on your television, on national television. That was a good thing. As Luke says, it's no longer there. Your fifth and final year at UWM, been to a good amount of games, haven't been approached or seen anything really about the basketball team. And this is the point I'm getting at. An app requires, number one, it requires students to download it. And number two, it requires them to go through a sign-up process. You are adding steps. On Friday morning, the basketball Twitter account tweeted a video saying, go on the app or go on mkepanthers.com, get your student tickets. What was not mentioned was, hey, if you come to the building and show your student ID, you get a ticket. What's easier? Downloading yet another app, of which you probably have a couple hundred on your phone, and signing up for, something that you may not want, or going to a website you may not go to all the time. If you're a casual fan, or if you're a student that just wants to check out games, you're adding extra steps to the process needlessly. Bring your student ID. And if you don't have your student ID, we'll look up your name. How many people know all you need to do is show your ID? Exactly. This is what I'm saying. These are the things. The Sandberg dorms, as well as Cambridge and Riverview, need to have banners. A big shot of a basketball player, the schedule, the day of the week, the date, and also get in free with your student ID. It doesn't have to be more involved than that. Our marketing department, as Joe says, our marketing department spent a considerable amount of time bringing back a mobile app and developing a student rewards program, points for attending games with a public leaderboard. That is wasted effort. I'll tell you right now, you go on that, Luke, you're a student. Go sign up for that app right now and tell me who the top student, who are the top students on the leaderboard. Dollars to donuts. It's going to be one of the student employees that also works for the athletic department when they're not playing. Like Rollins, like Kayla Rollins from the soccer team, the star soccer player. For men's games, when the women's team isn't playing, she has been working ticket office. She's been working at the ticket office. Is Rollins going to be on that leaderboard? It's going to be athletes. Athletes are going to be who's on that leaderboard. So what are you getting out of what are you getting out of that? The regular fans who are there who are on that leaderboard are also going to be regular fans. Rewards programs reward students who show up all the time, right? The more games you come to, the more the reward. So the general casual student who goes to 1 or 2 games a semester does not give a shit about a rewards program because they don't expect to go to games. A rewards program works when students are already going to games. Students are not going to games, so a rewards program is at best going to show you who are the few people who are going. I will admit that there are some benefits to that. You have the benefit of your of having that email capture, of having that cell phone number capture, so you can send out text messages for games, which I do think that's good. I will also say this, and I know that I'm going to catch some disdain from people inside the athletic department for this, but I do think over slamming those text messages is not going to win you a lot of support. I don't think that they certainly haven't done that with me and like other season ticket holders. I don't know what it is for students, but what even are the rewards? I have no idea what the rewards are, Matt. I haven't been a student for 14 years, so I don't even know what the rewards are. So if you guys want to start typing in chat what the rewards are, I would actually really appreciate it because we could talk about it. I will tell you that the rewards when I was a student sometimes were pretty damn good. My freshman year, you got a punch guard at the first soccer game. And if you went to every men's soccer game and they had a special punch. It wasn't like a normal like just hole punch. So you could just fake it and say you were at every soccer game. Like you actually had to go and get the punch for every home men's soccer game. If you went to every home men's soccer game that year, you got a game jersey. Not like you didn't get like a t-shirt that looked like a jersey, and you got like an authentic Panthers soccer jersey. Like, is that happening that's the rewards you would want for basketball, right? You want every kid who goes to every game. You go to every game. I want that kid to have an authentic. I'll tell you one thing. The one thing that I have heard from a million people, they all want the basketball shorts that the team wears. Those with the old school standing Panther logo. Those shorts are so good. And we never get authentic game stuff from Adidas. And it kills me because it's gotten so good. The uniforms this year are brilliant. All of them. The creams, the blacks, the whites, they're all excellent uniforms. And the fact that like there's no way of getting those things it really sucks. I mean, in fact, I would say if you want your rewards thing to be a real rewards thing, that's the kind of thing that you'd give. Be like, hey, make sure your clothing size is in here because and your address, because we're going to send you a package a couple weeks after the season's over, and it's going to have a basketball jersey in it. It's going to have some basketball shorts in it. Number one student gets the number one student for all basketball, and that would have never have been me. I was never the number one attended student when I was in campus, as much as people might think otherwise. You know, that number one student, maybe that number one student gets like, you know, Adidas, you know, game Adidas shoes. Like 2010-11, I graduated a few months before the, you know, in the middle of the 2010-11 season. And like, if they had a rewards program where like the number one student for like attendance and like all the stuff, if that number one student got like, if that student got the highlighter yellow shoes from that stretch run and tournament run, like, you would have had people fighting hard to be the number one attendance guy. Also, look at the look at that app. What do you do to get your points? Luke, if you while I'm talking about your last post, look and tell me, besides checking into games, what else gets you points? We haven't gotten any gear with a state outline since last year. Agreed, the new unis are awesome. The state outline stuff like this, I love these because this was supposed to be a different logo entirely, and then they found out the athletic department found out that the Bucks were not very happy that because it said Panthers on an angle. The Bucks weren't happy about it because it looked a lot like the Bucks state outline logo. Yeah, and so they ended up having to drop it. So it just looks like the state outline with the M down in the corner. You know, it was a little tough, but you know, kind of, you know, it is what it is. I just lost audio to my headset, so hold on a second. There we go. Is that, you know, is the app, you know, is it okay? You get the most points for checking in. You get points for tweeting. You get points for posting on Instagram about the game. You get points for posting a video or reposting a video on TikTok. You know, like, these are things that like if this is in the app, like, then it starts to make it a little worth it, especially if they're pushing TikTok. Yeah, please sign up and look now because I haven't seen it. But overall, like, you've been to a bunch of games. You are as much a basketball fan as anybody can be. I mean, you're watching a fat idiot talk about Panther basketball attendance at, you know, 9:15 on a Wednesday night because you wanted to watch the basketball game. And now you're going to have a really long, early drive to, you know, west of Detroit to, you know, Ypsilanti or some shit. So you're a big fan and you're just signing up for the app right now. Joe, this is the kind of problem that I'm talking about. you know, if you don't have the budget in marketing to do the things that you need to do to get students out to games, there are only a couple things that you can do. Number one, you need to fight for more dollars. If that means, and I know that sucks, but like every dollar spent getting students out to basketball games is better than a dollar spent on an ad in the Journal-Sentinel newspaper, because the Journal-Sentinel newspaper is only held up by old people. You want students to go to games, and you want everybody to see students going to games. You want 1,000 kids at every basketball game minimum. I'm done accepting this idea that because Milwaukee is that because we're in the Horizon League, we can't have nice things. We have 150,000 living alumni that are within half an hour's drive of downtown Milwaukee. What else do I have to say? The community is there, and the community has shown up. That Sweet 16, for 1 week, gloriously, this university was the center of the sports universe in the United States. You telling me that the guy who hasn't gone to games for 20 years, but like read every single article and like signed up for that message board and did all those, you telling me that guy doesn't want to be brought back into the fold? These people want to be there. They want to care. Students are just part of it. But if you bring students to games, everybody else is going to start coming to games too. If you are running, if you're running a bunch of people, if you're running, you run 15 to 20, men's basketball games a season, 1,000 students at every game, that should be 15,000 fans. And maybe, you'll have a lot of overlap, but that's a lot of student engagement. Luke, start writing down what some of these rewards are, and also I'd like to know what you do to earn the points for those rewards. Matt Clavette says hanging a poster in every dorm with a schedule and getting in with a free student ID shouldn't be asking too much. I will say this on Saturday app, 500 points does get you a signed up item and upgraded seats. So. Okay, we'll bite into that in a second, but let me talk about this shuttle thing for a second. Saturday against Wofford, early in the game, I was standing on the party deck, not in the student section, on that like deck off to the side. I was standing with a couple people, and we were just watching the game. Fantastic sight lines for the game. Plus, you're like really close to the opposing team's bench. Not as close as we were when I was a student, and you could just, not close enough where like when I was a student, a UIC assistant coach came over during the media timeout and said, "I'm gonna gut your fucking heart out, you fat fuck." That guy was later the head coach at Chicago State. And Tracy Dilley, you fucking sucked as a head coach at Chicago State. But, we were close enough to do that. The party deck is a little further away, which is fine. It's great sight lines for the game. And then I started laying into Wolford Center because I noticed the dude was a college basketball player and he had a bald spot on the back of his head. So I shouted that out a couple times, and one student fan kind of took umbrage with it. He looked at me and he's like, "It's not funny." I was like, "What?" And he's like, "You're not funny." I'm like, I've spent most of my adult life having certain, people, a bunch of people laughing at what I'm saying, and then one person says I'm not funny. So it's not like a surprise. But he then said something like, he's like, "You're the reason people aren't going to games." I'm like, that doesn't make any sense. But I wanted to know what he meant, just in case, like, or maybe there's something where, like, I have said something that, like, has turned, like, the average student away from a game. I don't know what that would have been this year. I haven't talked. That was the first time I talked trash at any sporting event for any team. So I was a little surprised at that. And so I waited until the media timeout, and I went over and I leaned over and I was like, "Hey man, at halftime, can we have a conversation? Because I'd like to understand where you're coming from." And immediately he's like, "Hey man, I'm really sorry. I was just really frustrated with something. You're not the reason why people aren't going to games. I was just snapping back at you for something. He says, "I'm really sorry about it. Obviously I want you to be at games. Like, I want everybody to be at games. I don't know why people aren't going to games." And I was like, "That's actually kind of why I wanted to talk to you." So at halftime, he came up to the party deck and we had a conversation. His name's Dylan. He seems like a very nice kid. And he ended up coming to the game Sunday too, but Saturday we had the conversation, and he's like, "The basketball team, the athletic department needs to, nobody knows when games are on campus." He's like, "Nobody knows when games are. Nobody knows what's going on. Nobody knows who's playing. Nobody knows where they're playing. Nobody knows what time they're playing. Nobody knows anything." So he's like, "They should be giving us free pizza." He's like, "Everybody should know that there's a free ticket." He brought up that, like, the sign-in process is convoluted. He's like, "I had a bunch of friends who were coming to the game, but they couldn't log in on the website, so they didn't think they'd be able to get tickets." Again, bring your student ID. Free with a student ID. It does not have to be complicated. In fact, the less complicated it is, the better. And then he said something that made me laugh. He said, "The university should pay for a free shuttle from the dorms." You guys all know why that's funny, right? The university pays for a free shuttle from the dorms. The university pays for a shuttle from the dorms. And a guy who has been to every basketball game this season didn't know that was a thing. A student who goes to every basketball game did not know that he could ride a free shuttle from campus to the game. He's like, "I have been parking by the Milwaukee Museum, by the public museum. I've been parking by the public museum for 2 years. I had no idea that we got a free shuttle from campus to the games." Sunday, the next day, I see him at the game. He's like, "I rode the shuttle. It's like a school bus, which whatever, but like, it was great. I got a free ride to the games." When I was a student, for the first few years I was there, they paid for coach buses that would go back and forth from the Sandberg dorms to the arena. Coach buses. Those are more expensive. than school buses. So I understand why you're not sending school buses or why you're not sending the coach buses. But you're also not getting your money's worth out of the school buses, because what he was saying was, I didn't know that those buses in front of the dorms were buses to the basketball games. He's like, and now he's like, this year I don't even live on campus, but like I would ride up. He's like, I would ride up to campus. And then I told him also, I was like, you know what, a lot of guys, because when I was a student, the doors open for a 7:00 game. The doors opened at 6 p.m. So you generally would have 30 to 50 students waiting at the doors in the atrium, like inside the atrium. You'd have 30 to 50 students waiting to get into the basketball game 45 minutes to an hour before every basketball game. This is when we were 9-22, by the way. In 2006-07, 9-22. So this idea that like, well, it's a mid-major or it's the Horizon League or it's all bullshit. Like, we cannot look at it as an excuse. So when Joe, when Joe Tix, the ticket manager, is posting on the message board, there are few options we have not explored or tried. I don't know if that's true, man. I know that you've come to me, but I also know that, like, I know that I've told you and I've told other people in athletics that basketball games are not when you get the diehards. You're not, one thing that always frustrates me is I will hear people say, well, we just need to find the next Jimmy Lemke. There ain't going to be another Jimmy Lemke, but you're going to find other people who do the things that you think that I did, or you know that I did. There are people who did what I did better. Like Kieran Pinch was a student who ended up working for athletics and worked to get students out to basketball games, and he did a hell of a job doing it, and he was great at that, working for athletics. And Kieran Pinch was a student who got interested in the program because the first game that he came to was a soccer game in the opening weekend when he moved in as a freshman. I think it was 2008. He was from Waupun. The next year he brought along a young scruffy kid named Jose Matamoros to a soccer game, and Jose got into it. In 2006, fall of 2006, I want to say it was. Maybe it was fall of 2007. I was at a volleyball match at the earliest part of the season. There was a guy named, his name is Travis Wacker. He was at the front of the student section for a volleyball game. It was not 900 students, but it was about 150 students. And I was also a student at the time, so me running the student section was not like an old guy running the student section. And we were at the end of the game and we were winning. And I was like, hey, I was engaging the students. I was like, hey, who's got an idea for some cool thing that we can do that'll look great on the cameras, or like will be fun to like, give the other team like a whatever. And somebody's like, do like the nah, hey, goodbye. And it's like, whatever. Give me something new. And Travis Wacker's like, oh, dude, I got something. I'm like, all right, hey, man, what's your name? He's like, Travis. I'm like, okay, what do you got? And he's like, we can do the bus. I was like, well, what's the bus? And he said, you have everybody sit down. The roller coaster is another version of this. He's like, you have everybody sit down. Everybody acts like they're putting on seatbelt buckles. And then you have one guy in front, and he's like doing this, and as he's like turning the wheels of the bus, everybody in the crowd is like, whoa, whoa, whoa. And everybody's getting into it. And he's like, then you ride over rough road. And everybody's going like this on the thing. And he's like, so you should do that. And I was like, no, you should do that. Because I don't know what the hell I'm doing. You know what you're doing with it. Show us how it's done. So he like got up, explained it to his fellow freshmen. They were like, hell yeah, let's do it. I sat down with the rest of the students and he led us in the thing. And you know what? Travis Wacker is a fucking diehard Panther fan for the rest of his life because of that day. The next 4 years of his life dramatically changed in his mind for the better because we engaged him and got him to get and show us and engage with us and teach us something. You have to give these freshmen, you have to give them something to get them excited about being part of it, because when they get on campus and they're going to a soccer game, they're going to a volleyball game, you know what they're screaming? They are screaming, we want the college athletics fan experience. We want to be part of the student section. How many kids in this state grow up wanting to be in that end zone for jump around at Badger games? I know that when I was in high school, the Kohl Center got built when I was a freshman, and then the basketball team under Bo Ryan got so good that they were winning a ton. And every year, the basketball student section, which was called the Grateful Red, they would get new T-shirts every year that were tie-dye, but it was all red and black and white, so it was like Badger colors, which is cool. That's their thing. Marquette has the big heads. We watched UCF tonight. What did they have? They had those palm tree branches that they were waving at our free throw shooters. You have to do things that are unique to you, but really what you have to do is you have to engage your student body and get their interest and figure out what makes them tick and what's going to get them to come out to games and run the show for you. I told Joe that. I've told several people who work for athletics that that's what needs to be done. I said, that's what needs to be done. You need to do it for volleyball and soccer games. And it's not, and you need to get their contact info because you need to be able to, because I'll tell you, Travis Wacker, John Parker, Corey Bertram, Matt Trout, all those guys that were diehard Panther fans when they were in school, and a lot of them still are now. I saw Sean Topol at a basketball game on Friday night. He was a student when I was a student. He was in like the second or third row on the baseline behind the St. Thomas bench. That's a guy who used to come out to games, and he did it because we got him engaged as a fan. College basketball, college athletics is different than the NFL. It's different than the NBA. It is much more personal. It's much more intimate. And when you're talking about a mid-major like Milwaukee, that's even more so. It's even more. You have advantages. One advantage that Luke brings up, 500 points gets you a signed item and upgraded seats. That's pretty rad, man. But it also takes you out of the student section for a basketball game. It puts you second row or something, When if you're a student, you can already be pretty close. 150, Luke puts it up. 150 points, can koozie or snap on. I thought you said strap on for a second. 200 UWM baseball hat, 250 rally towel and t-shirt, 300 UWM duffel bag, 350 points gets you pajama pants and a pillow, 400 points gets you crew neck and guest DJ. Interesting. 450 game all delivery and UWM I don't know what that all delivery means. But like what's some there's some value there. I don't think that there's no value there. I do think that if you're spending your time focused on rewards programs and app functionality, that you are missing the forest for the trees. Students want people to get out there. Oh, ball delivery. Oh, the game ball delivery. Oh, I know what you're saying. You know, there was one post later where Joe says, well, nobody wants nobody wants a 40-year-old in a polo coming up to them and telling them to go to a basketball game. I would argue if Bart Lundy goes around and tells kids to go to basketball games and engages with kids about going to basketball games, they will listen. I would argue that if his assistant coaches are like, hey, you guys got to come to basketball games, they should do it. I would argue that if you put me in authentic Panther gear and, you know, I am, you know, director of student fan engagement or, you know, whatever, that's not going to happen. I'm just saying, like, if you are Joe Lancer and you shave your mustache, kids are going to think that you're a student and you should be able to get, like, yeah, like you're old, you know, you look older. People look older. I'm starting to there's like 20 gray hairs on the top of my head. Luckily, being fat means that the wrinkles get pushed out by the fat. So I still look like I could plausibly be in my 20s. That is, you know, that's changing every year. If I lose a ton of weight, it's going to definitely look different. But like my point is that you have to engage them where they are. There are televisions in the Sandberg dorms. There were when I was a student, and they would rotate different things. Where is the this is the next basketball game? Bart Lundy saying, hey, like, so Monday morning, the students are back on campus from the holiday weekend. The kids in the dorms are going, and there is a television. There are televisions above, and they've got they've got like different ads. Like, this is the ad for whatever the special is on the third floor cafeteria. This is what you can get at the little shop. Here's a deal here. These are the movies at the Union. Where is the video produced where Bart Lundy in front of a green screen or in front of, you know, in the OHA or something? Where is Bart Lundy on a quick 20 to 30 second video saying, hey, students, it's time to wake the hell up. Cleveland State is coming to town on Thursday. This is a conference rival. They beat us in the Horizon League tournament 2 years ago. We need to pay them back. Thursday night, 7:00, arena downtown. Free shuttles from outside the dorms starting an hour before games. Free with your student ID. I'm even going to spring for pizza. Get to the game. Boom, drop the microphone. You know, maybe not just be like, I'm going to spring for pizza. Please come to the game. You know, do that. And then maybe like Wednesday, walk around. You know, when I was a student, a lot of students like Chip McKenzie because he was the director of basketball operations, and before that, he was the video coordinator for the Jeter era team. And he would walk around with tickets, and he'd hand out tickets to students. He wasn't checking their IDs. And that brings me to maybe the biggest advantage we have as a program, which is, drum roll please, we got a lot of seats. We got a lot of empty seats that we can fill. So I will say this as a season ticket holder, and I think I speak for a lot of other season ticket holders, maybe not everybody, but I speak for a lot of them when I say give away tickets. Even though that means that I could have gotten in free and I'm not, I don't care. Give tickets to people. The School of Nursing has a fundraiser. Okay, do your fundraiser downtown at the Hilton and then, or at the, at the Hyatt, and then here's 50 tickets for the basketball game that night so that you guys can do like a, pregame dinner and networking meet and greet and then move over to the arena. That's how things like this go. That's how real schools do this. And when I talk to Andrew Dare, the vice chancellor, it sounds like some of those things are going to start happening. I wish that was not coming from outside the department, but I do feel like whatever you guys are doing inside the athletics department, we haven't seen the results. And as Joe says here, I'll also add the frustration over low student attendance permeates throughout athletics and starts from the top down. Everybody's frustrated, and we all know Amanda's frustrated. We all know Bart is frustrated. Bart is very frustrated. Bart is angry at student attendance, as he should be. This team busts their ass to be very good at basketball. They were one guard having the night of his life away from winning a Big 12 game on the road. I don't care if it's, Baylor after the death penalty. It doesn't matter. It's literal, UCF is in the Big 12. We almost had a Big 12 road game tonight, if not for one guy having the night of his life on the other team. So this is a team that is worth our attention. This is a team that, God willing, should win, and win decisively on Saturday against Southern Miss. So what are we doing to match that effort and get people there? I've heard from other people in athletics, not in the basketball program, and definitely not Joe, because Joe never says anything negative about anybody because he's a pro. But I've heard from other people in athletics that there are certain people who are part of the marketing team who are basically part-time employees. They're only in the office a couple days a week, but they're collecting their full pay, their full benefits. Look, the reason why you get fans who want me in that athletic department is because they know that I would work 60 to 70 hours a week, and it wouldn't even faze me because it wouldn't feel like work. They know that because I care about it the way they care about it, that I'd be able to spend all of my work time working towards that goal. You don't have to have people, you don't have to have Jimmy Lemke work for athletics. Everybody watching this video knows that's never going to happen. Do we all agree on it? No, but maybe they can't even afford me at this point. The fact of the matter is that you have to have people who are committed. Matt says that's what sucks the most is seeing a team that's very deserving of seeing 5,000 plus fans a game. We can't get 2,000. I think this team is worth 10,000 fans a game. And let me tell you why. Because we have 10,783 seats inside the arena. Whatever the number is, that's what I believe we should be striving towards. Will you get there? Probably not. But we averaged 5,300 in 2005-06. They averaged 5,000 in the Sweet 16 season. In 2011-12, they averaged a little over 4,000 fans a game. You take the Badger game out of that, it was like 3,800 a game. They're averaging less, fewer than 2,000 fans a game, and I think that number that they're actually posting is soft. I don't think it's more than 1,000 fans a game at this point. We can do things to get fans to games. Take Barry Freeze. Young professional, young family. He and his wife Katie have been season ticket holders for years. I think since they graduated. Barry works in finance. Barry brings clients to games. Sometimes Barry's bringing his family to games. Sometimes it's just he and his wife. They let somebody else watches the kids that night. Sometimes Barry's bringing clients. Sometimes Barry's bringing coworkers. Frank, who's been in the chat tonight, has brought people to games. I've brought people to games. I've brought some of my closest friends to games. I usually will get at least one game a year where I get like 4 or 5 of my buddies and we go to a game together. It's a fun, it's a fun night. We get decent tickets. We sit along. We enjoy the game. It's good. What isn't great is, we can't rely on fans to be out there getting all of the, boosting things. It has to be about, there's a lot of work that has to be done inside that department. From 8 to 5 p.m. Monday through Friday, I am estimating at a car collision body shop. I do not have the time to commit to this. That is true of just about everybody who's a fan. We can bring some people to a game sometimes, and maybe we'll convert somebody to get tickets one year. Get a season ticket, maybe you get another season ticket holder out of it. But at some point it has to come from the university itself. Maybe you guys have, maybe there's something, maybe you've explored everything you know about, but that means you need to find some things that you don't know. What are things that you can do to get people out to games? And even though they're not paying they're not paying fans, students need to be courted. Because the students who are engaged and love following the program graduate and buy season tickets like Mike Stokowski. Luke graduates this year. I would love to see Luke buy season tickets next year if he's still in Milwaukee. I'd love to see people buy season. It's not like they're expensive. I spent $100 plus tax on my season ticket. Because I'm poor, like it ain't that expensive to buy a season ticket to Panther basketball games, and you get so much value out of it. You literally get into every single sporting event that's not like a conference tournament event. You get into every home sporting event for the Panthers year round. Every baseball game, every soccer game, every volleyball game. Maybe one of them isn't your thing, but maybe another one is. Luke says, my dad and I were going to buy him this year. We're 100% getting them next season. Fantastic. I really hope you do. You know, even if the team isn't quite as good next year, they're still going to be fun to watch. Because if there's one thing we know about the Bart Lundy era, we know that they're fun to watch. And, you know, cross your fingers if everything goes well and the Panthers get to the NCAA tournament and maybe we win a game or 2 or 3 or something. All of a sudden, somebody's knocking on Bart Lundy's door and they hire him, and all of a sudden we need a new basketball coach. That's more opportunity, you know? And I think that Amanda Braun really figured out how to zero in on a coach, because I think she did a heck of a job hiring Bart Lundy. Just like I think she did a heck of a job hiring the new women's soccer coach a couple of years ago. Things are looking up for the program in a lot of sports. I was told that the athletic department had a powwow about student tickets or, you know, student attendance, and they were trying to figure out, you know, they were putting their heads together, figuring out what they can do about student attendance. It offended me. Not that they were doing it. I love that they were doing it. But like, you didn't think to bring me to that meeting or solicit some ideas from me for that meeting? There's never going to be a point where I'm going to tell them every idea that I have. There's not. They haven't paid for that. They haven't paid for that, and at some point I just have a little too much pride, and I'm never going to give up the full go, because I do believe that if the university were really smart, that they would figure out a spot for me, not to bump anybody out of their current role, but to help. Because say you even just matched my current salary. Say I took a $5,000 pay cut to come work for the university. It doesn't even have to be in athletics. Just rove around, get students out to athletics events, or, you know, sell season tickets, sell group tickets, sell tickets to fans. I am sure that I would pay my way in value to the university based on what I would do. Also, I don't know if this ever occurs to anybody in athletics. If you take me out of the crowd, I'm not going to be yelling at the other team in a way that might embarrass you, in a way that might make you not so happy that I'm like there. If I'm inside the building, I have to play the game the way it's supposed to be played, which is, you know, maturely. And that's fine. But yeah, $200 for 2 season tickets. I mean, and that's like that'll be like they text you the day before the game, and it'll usually be like a 300 level seat. One thing we have a lot of is seats. I have always moved down. I was on the Panther party deck Saturday, Sunday, because Saturday I tried to go into my normal spot by the Panther head, and somebody at the some security at the arena, she said, "Can I look at your ticket?" And I showed her my ticket, and she's like, "Well, you're actually on the other side on the 3rd level, so you can't come in here." I'm like, whatever. Like, I don't care. It's fine. Like, if you want to take this, you know, that seriously, that you can't let me have one of the 700 open seats behind you, then I understand. It's fine. But like, we have seats. We have to play to our strengths. Our strengths are we have big swaths of tickets in specific areas that we can gift to different groups. We have there's access that you can get as part of this program that you're not going to get from anywhere else. And I will say specifically, like this Bart Lundy radio show, this podcast that they're going to start recording on Monday. That is a podcast that you will have very close. You have very close access to Coach Lundy. So, maybe it's not going to help get students out to games. Like, I honestly, I think that should. I don't think that should take place at the guest house. I think that should take place in the dorms. I think that should take place in the dorms, and I think they should put a stage inside the cafeteria, because clearly that is where you have advantages in the athletic department. Advantage one being that you have a captive audience for 8 hours a day, 5 days a week during the semester, where there are hundreds or thousands of students there. If we're not putting schedule posters everywhere, that's an issue. If there isn't a giant banner that costs a couple $100 or something flying in the Sandberg dorms saying here are the game days, come watch the team, you're not doing everything you can. You guys can say our marketing department is doing all this stuff. They're being proactive. But then I also have active students saying they never hear anything. They don't hear when games are. They don't know that a shuttle exists. They don't know anything that's going on. You can tell me we're doing this, we're doing that, and I 100% believe you. I don't think you're lying to me or anything. I think you are doing what you think is the best way of getting as many people as possible. But at the same time, it's clear that you have not scraped the bottom of the barrel for ideas, and you're not getting your assets out there in the best way possible. Pounce should be running around campus with an employee for the department handing out student tickets for every single game. What are you doing tonight? Going to the game tonight? Oh, you can't make it? Here. 2 weeks from now, we got the next game. You have something to say to every answer that somebody gives you. I don't like basketball. That's okay. I didn't like basketball either when I started going to games. You know what I did like? I liked being able to shout and get things off my chest and take it out on some poor kid from another school. You like pranks? Let me tell you about this. Let me tell you about this time. You guys couldn't do this, but let me tell you about when I was a student and we catfished Vaughn Duggins into giving us his phone number, and then we chanted it at him when he was at the free throw line. And he went 2 for 9 from the fucking free throw line, and we ended up winning that game by a buzzer beater. Kids want to know they're going to have fun, so show them the fun. which also means, and I'll say this before I get out, is for the love of God, dude, game ops drastically needs to improve. First off, you don't have money, right? You guys talk about how, you bring up, people will frequently bring up in athletics, we don't have the money to do something. Well, this may sound a little high school to you, but you could spend $20 on a roll of tickets and send a couple students out with a bucket and those tickets and sell tickets for a 50-50 raffle and do all of that for a game. And like the second to last media timeout, you read off the number and that person wins half of the 50-50 raffle. This ain't hard. Say you sell and that's $1,000. So some fan gets $500, and then the athletic department gets $500 to put towards what? Getting more people to the games. Come on, let's do what we're doing. Why are you not doing a 50-50 raffle at basketball games? It's so obvious. It's so easy. It's so simple. Why isn't it something that's being done? You telling me in the cage in the Kalachi Center you don't have a bucket? I bet you probably have rolls of tickets for the 50-50 raffle too. I'd be willing to bet, $20 gets you an arm. Just do that. That's literally some fundraising you can do for the department right there. Yeah, the pack of soda. What is that? Dude, the Starry, like the giveaway of the 12-pack of Starry at basketball games is the most cringeworthy, nothing level game ops thing I have ever seen in my entire life. It is such a low bar garbage thing. Like, yeah, the Brewers do 50-50 raffle. And their 50% goes into the Brewers charities. Well, we're a nonprofit. We're a public university. Take that 50 and put it towards marketing to your students. You don't think all those fans who've been complaining about the student attendance from last weekend wouldn't buy 50-50 tickets for an opportunity at winning some cash and also putting money into the athletic department? To specifically for marketing to students? I mean, you don't say that during the game, but that's what you do with the money. Student outreach, you call it student outreach or something. But yeah, like the 12-pack of, you march like a kid out there and it's like, hey, we give this kid a 12-pack of Starry. It's like, okay, well, if you're not matching it with a giveaway of a handle of Tito's, I don't care. What are we doing? What are we doing? When I was a student, for a while they did the slingshot thing where you had the slingshot where two people would hold the slingshot and then you'd have somebody pull back. They had two of those slingshots, and you'd have two guys, or you'd have two fans who would be trying to launch rubber chickens into a basket that somebody else was holding down on the other side. You'd have somebody doing this. You'd have four athletic department employees. Boom, 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 boom. You'd have two guys on opposite teams launching the rubber chickens, and later it was like fake Jimmy John subs. And then down on the other end of the court, you'd have fans with baskets collecting the rubber chickens, and then later the Jimmy John subs. And then whoever won the most won whatever the prize was. I think it was Jimmy John's, and it doesn't have to be like, you could even do the stupid 12-pack of Starry. Like, you get a 12-pack of soda if you win this thing. People will do the dumb stuff like that just because it's fun. We are not the Bucks. The best player, the best basketball player on planet Earth, does not play for the Milwaukee Panthers. We are not in the Big East. We do not have 100 years of major college basketball history with Division I national championships, and we're playing the biggest names in the sport. We don't have those things at our disposal. We are more on the level of the Admirals. We are more on the level of the Milwaukee Wave, the Milwaukee Milkmen, the Lake Country Dockhounds. You have to do operations like you want people to be entertained. And there are ways to entertain people, and marching a fan out there and handing them a bandana and saying this is the student of the game, or marching a guy out there and saying this is the starry fan of the game and giving him a 12-pack of soda. Do you know how fucking embarrassing that is? Do you know how embarrassing it is to be a fan and bring those people to the game? You know, what does Barry Freeze say to a client when they come to a game and the client's like, did they just give a guy a 12-pack of soda in like the timeout? The prize does not matter. You don't need to be giving $10,000 away for that. But like, you know, some of the things that they will do, you know, like the tic-tac-toe is okay. Do they even do the tic-tac-toe anymore? I don't even know. But like some of the things you do are okay. Let me mute myself for a second. I gotta get some water in my throat. You know, the tic-tac-toe game's okay. The having students dress, you know, having the kids dress in the basketball shorts and the jerseys when it's like way oversized, and then try and like hit a layup as they're falling down and tripping over those clothes is funny. You know, that stuff is funny, and people in the crowd get to laugh. You know, the Admirals do that. The Admirals do that thing where they have the human hockey puck. You know, you don't have to do the human hockey puck. Of course, we don't play hockey, so you don't have to do that. But like, come up with ideas. You know, the one that there's one that I did. Anybody who was in the building when I took a bunch of free throws and missed every single one gets to laugh when they reminisce about that. I missed every single free throw for 24 seconds. It was embarrassing. And yet what's really funny is that a couple years earlier at a women's basketball game, I made a layup, free throw, three-pointer, and half-court shot in one a year's supply of brats. Need to bring back musical chairs if we get some students. There are students at the game. I mean, there are students at the games, and you can always add Pounce in to be another player of the game. In fact, you should always have Pounce in there to be another player of the game. Also, Pounce the character himself. I brought this up to Adam Shem, but he was literally like on his way out the door to Parkside. I've brought this up to Joe. I've brought this up to a few different people in athletics. What is the most popular thing to do on the internet besides argue about politics? The most popular thing on the internet is cat videos. Our mascot is a cat. Literally, have Pounce do cat shit. Not like cat turds. Not the politics, but like have... You know, you have a cats will chase a laser pointer, right? You have a spotlight. You're going to give away a Domino's pizza. You're going to give away a 12-pack of Starry, right? You make that light. You turn the lights off in the arena. You have that little spotlight go around. And you know what's also happening at the same time? You have Pounce with a weaker spotlight, which is a larger radius, but is showing Pounce chasing that light around the arena. And people will laugh because you can put somebody in athletics in one of the rows and then have Pounce climb over that person and maybe act like they're knocking them in the head. And fans will laugh because it's funny. Do skits. Do the chintzy stuff. Do the fun thing because people want to have fun at a game. Nobody is having fun watching you say, this is the fan who is, yes, Stack, we're still alive. This is the fan who is giving away this is the fan who gets the Starry 12-pack. This is the UW Credit Union student fan of the game. Here's a bandana. This is a party deck. What makes it a party deck, guys? What makes it a party deck? Nothing. Nothing makes it a party deck. It's because the DJ sits in front of the party deck? You have to make your game ops fun. And the game ops have been largely unchanged since when Leah Tyne started over 10 years ago. Yeah, woohoo, free soda and bandanas. It's not so much that it's a 12-pack of soda or a bandana as much as it's where we put a fan on camera and say, here is the fan of the game. Who looks, if you're a casual fan in the crowd, and it's the time to do the 12-pack of Starry giveaway. We're going to find out who the fan of the game is. What's more interesting, guys? Is it the guy who stands there and waves at the camera and holds a 12-pack of soda? Or is it fun to watch the mascot cat frantically chasing a fake laser pointer? Because it's not really a laser pointer. It's just a red-tinged light that's like a spotlight, right? That's big enough for one fan. What's more fun? Is it watching the guy hold it and wave? Or is it more fun to watch the cat mascot chasing the laser pointer around until they find the fan with the Starry? Why are you not when you do the hidden ball, when they do the three, the three balls, right? You have the 1, 2, 3 Panther basketballs, and you hide the thing behind it, and then they shift around, and it's all on the video board. The lazy thing to do is to find that ball on there, and that's it. That's the lazy thing to do. Because people will interact with it, and people say, oh, it's number 2, number 3. The better thing would be Pounce is trying to find his ball of yarn. Where's Pounce's ball of yarn, everybody? Where's Pounce's ball of yarn? And then, Pounce is looking around, I don't know where my ball of yarn is. And then they say, oh, it's up there on the screen. And everybody looks up at the screen. You have the shuffle game. And literally, it's not a Panther logo. It's like a ball of yarn. And then afterwards, they're like, oh, and look. And then you have Pounce with a literal, medicine ball-sized ball of yarn. Where you can just literally, glue that shit on top of a medicine ball or something. Or, one of those, squishy balls. They got 1 million of those balls in the Kalaji Center. And then Pounce is like, oh, so great. And is like hugging the ball and going nuts with the ball. Like, you engage the fans with, hey, here's this fake, here's this fake problem we've got. And you can be a part of it by, you can be a part of it here by, it's my cat, dude. You can be a part of this by helping us find the ball of yarn. And then they find the ball of yarn. And then the ball of yarn, it turns out then Pounce is playing with a ball of yarn, and because you have the cat playing with a ball of yarn, you get the fans in the crowd to laugh. People want to have a good time, and if the basketball is the only thing that makes them have a good time, there's going to be a lot of dead space where nobody's having a good time, and they're just looking at their watch waiting for things. The university produces videos selling the talking about the university as a whole, the academic side of the university. Do a short interview before the game starts. You do that 20 minutes before the game starts. 20, 25 minutes is fans are starting to trickle in. You'll be like, hey, here's the dean of the school of, here's the dean of the College of Letters and Science. Hey, what's going on? What's going on this week? Well, blah, 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 whatever. They can talk about what's going on with their program. They can highlight something that's great that an alumni has done. They can, if it's the Peck School of the Arts, and be like, hey, dude, we're doing the Nutcracker, or we're doing Fred Claus, whatever they're doing. You give them space to promote themselves at the basketball game, because there are a lot of people that go to basketball games who also like other things. So look at it as an opportunity to promote all of the university stuff, because I will tell you, we'll bring this up right now. We'll go here. Let's go to the UWM Cinema. The UWM Cinema and the Student Union is upcoming showings. They got some dumb stuff. What else do you have? You have the UWM Planetarium. What's going on at the planetarium? Oh, there's public events where you can go and look. Oh, hey, there's some free events. You can do rooftop stargazing on December 6th from 8 to 9 p.m. These don't do stuff. That doesn't do amazing things, but it also shows the academic side of the university, because there are a lot of people that come from the academic side of the university to games. It shows that we value them. And I think that a lot of times when we talk about doing this top-down thing where Mark Money has to dictate, and whoever succeeds him has to dictate to the rest of the university that you have to use athletics, you have to use men's basketball as a tool. How can men's basketball help you with your job? How can we help you raise money? How can we help you do these things? And how can you help us? Also, how can we use them as a tool? Or how can we promote what they've got going on? Because the university's got a lot of cool things that are going on. There's a lot of nice stuff. A lot of it's free to the public. And the stuff that's not could use an influx of some cash. If people in other parts of the university are seeing that, like, oh, I got a bunch of people here who are at my event who were here because they heard about it at a basketball game. Maybe I'm going to start taking more interest in the basketball program. I don't think that's something that really occurs to people. And I think that's really sad because the university really could use university really could use that synergy with support for the different parts of the program. Matt says that you could also interview players, asking them simple questions that can be funny, get to know the players a bit, put it on the video board. That's an easy one. Easy money. The time to do it was at the beginning of the season when we had all those, like, when we had the cameras on campus for the video package, but you can do that at any time. You can record that with a frickin' iPhone if you have the right microphones and stuff, and you put the stuff. You can borrow my camera. I do not care. Although this camera is not that great. Probably want to turn down the. That's a little better. I don't know. It was better when I had more light in here. You need to fill up the time, right? You need to look at it as the doors open at 6 p.m. We need to provide programming for everybody who is in the building from 6:05 p.m. to 7 o'clock when the game tip-off is. We have to provide programming at timeouts. We have to provide programming at halftime. We have to provide programming at the end of the game. And we have to do this, and we need to look at it as this is all time that needs to be filled. You know what's a really great way to fill some of that time? Having the band in the building all the time. Sunday, Panther band was at the women's basketball game. I love women's basketball. I watched like 30 WNBA games this year, and they weren't all Caitlin Clark, Indiana Fever games. I watched mostly Dallas Wings games because I'm a big Arike Ogunbowale stan. But my point is that what I'm trying to say is that women's basketball, while nice, should never take precedence over men's basketball when it comes to who is, game operations things. And the student band is a game operations tool, or a piece of game operations. The cheerleaders, the dance team, these are game operations. I understand that may make the Klachi Center basketball game for the women's team a little boring. I do not care. I support Kyle Reckledge. I hope that she does a great job. I watch most of their games on ESPN Plus. They should not take precedence over men's basketball. Period. End of story. Also, if you have 3 games on a weekend at home, Friday night, Saturday afternoon, Sunday afternoon, the band needs to be there Friday night, Saturday afternoon, Sunday afternoon. If you have a men's basketball game, the band needs to be there. When Green Bay comes to the arena in January and school is not in session, the band needs to be there. There is a cost involved with this? Yes. You know what could pay for that? A 50-50 raffle. You aren't doing You know, it's a bit extreme from the university when even Jimmy is saying the feminism movement has gone too far. I don't think it's feminism. I think they looked at it as what would be more expensive, getting the band in on a bus downtown or having the band just show up at the Kalachi Center. I think that's why they did that. But here's the thing. No. It's not an anti-feminist thing. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that men's basketball is your cash cow. The far wider group is, going to men's basketball games, so you want the experience at that event to be best. I might think a little differently if this were Green Bay. Apologies to Doug Gottlieb, but Green Bay women's basketball is the class of the state and has been for a quarter century. That might be where I would maybe look at putting the band at the Kalachi, at the Crest Center rather than at the Rush Center for the men's game. Although I would also say, do what you can to schedule it so that they're not playing at the same time. This ain't hard. Well, I mean, it is hard, but like the first things first, like you would want them at both games, and you're not going to have them at both games if it's if your basketball. If both games are going on at the same time or their times are so close that you can only have them on one or the other, it's men's basketball 100% of the time in Milwaukee. I'm sorry. But I'd also say that if it were like a choice between men's basketball and men's swimming and diving or men's soccer, which, by the way, I do think that we should have like a band at soccer games. That'd be fucking rad. These things cost money, but like we already know that you're not doing everything to raise money. So like, why are we not doing a 50-50 raffle? Just that one thing alone probably nets you $1,000 a game or $500 a game or something. It's not that difficult, right? You want the event from doors open to take your shit and go home. You want fans to know, you want fans to be informed about future games. You want them to be informed about what's going on campus. You want them to be first and foremost entertained, because at the professional level and at our level, it doesn't matter. This is entertainment first and foremost. You are entertaining fans with a game of college basketball. So do what you can to make fans excited for that. It ain't all that hard. Look, I would love to keep talking all night. I would love to keep talking all night, but the fact of the matter is that it's Thanksgiving tomorrow, and Luke has to get to sleep because he has a very long drive ahead of him. And I appreciate all of you guys being part of this, being part of chat, being part of Panther basketball, because they're just like Stacks has said, like there's just not that many of us. So we have to appreciate the status that we have, the close-knit group that we have. I think it's great. I think it's great that, if you want to know Bart Lundy, if you want to know the players, if you want to be close to the program, you can do that. If you want to, see the same people for 20 years, I have friends that I met when I was in college that I'm still friends with, that are friends that I made during Panther basketball. I have gone on road trips to, sporting events. I've gone, go see, movies with these friends. I go to their weddings. They've been to my wedding. We have a close-knit community. And I think I speak for everybody when I say I wish it wasn't so close-knit. Not because I don't want to know my friends in Panther basketball and Panther athletics, but because I want there to be so many of us that it's hard to really have the close-knit community to begin with. There's 150,000 living alumni. There are 20,000 plus students on campus every day. You have to figure out how to reach those kids. You have to figure out how to reach those alumni, and you have to figure out how to reach the people who didn't even go to UWM, or maybe went to UWM and didn't graduate, or transferred to a different school. Just because somebody is, just because we maybe hit a ticket number that we like doesn't mean that we can't, keep getting better. Before I really chip out, I do want to read a few things from the message board. MKE Hoops, who is a low level, he says, the lack of engagement between fans and the advancement team, athletics administration is a major problem. For years, it's driven me crazy watching our administration sit in the courtside bar and mingle with each other instead of getting out in the stands and talking to the students and fans. How many season ticket holders do we actually have? Maybe 200 of us? The administration should quite literally be on a first-name basis with every single one of us. There are some very nice people in our athletic administration. Unfortunately, none of them have a salesman-type personality. We need our leaders to sell the program with every interaction. For what it's worth, Christina, the new person in charge of advertising sales, has been fantastic. Unfortunately, she has not worked directly for the university as she is a Learfield employee. Yes. Learfield Sports is a little bit of it's a licensing group, so they handle like communication, like radio communications and stuff like that. Yes. Go Panthers Go 23 says, do they have, you guys are going to laugh at this, have any more of the Wisconsin State outline merchandise that Lundy and the staff is always wearing? Would love some more besides that hoodie I have from last year. Yo. Joe responded to my original response, and he says, by focusing a ton of attention on Stanford, there was a group of about a dozen students that attended every volleyball match the rest of the season. We talked to them a few games in, and they are going to go to basketball games as well. But at the same time, you have to communicate with students the way they want to be communicated with. These are kids that grew up during COVID, and their preferred communication method is their phones. We're not beating out TikTok, but if you can send a text or notification that gets a reaction, you're winning their attention. In-person communication is how connections are made, but there's a difference between one of your peers encouraging you to go to the game and a 40-year-old in a polo and dress locks encouraging you to go. I also bring up giveaways because it's mentioned frequently on X as something that would get more students to games. There are different opinions on how much of a difference giveaways actually make, but it comes up a lot. I don't happen to believe that giveaways specifically get you there with students. Students like events. When I was a student, one of our best attended basketball games was actually in a game against Green Bay, and it was in the middle. It was like 2 weeks before the end of break. So it was winter break, and students weren't even on campus. But because it was a game on ESPN2, everybody showed up. So that's a big reason why, that was a big thing. He says that there's a group of about a dozen students that attended every volleyball match the rest of the year. We talked to them a few games. They're going to go to basketball games as well. How much have you talked to them? Do you know their names? Do you have their cell phone numbers? Because when I was saying engage the students, that's part of what I'm talking about. Like, engage the students. You want to engage the students, like, you have to really get them involved. Be like, no, hey, like, I want you to be involved in getting more kids to games, and I want you to be involved in running the student section, because that's something that a lot of kids liked. When I let them, like, choose chants, when I let them do, like, the bus thing, like, with Whacker, like, when I will let them, like, decide, like, hey, this is, like, an idea that we can do, that was when we had a lot of these guys who became, like, super fans that would be at every game. No matter what sport it was, they'd be there all the time. He says, we're not beating out TikTok. Well, you should be on TikTok. Let's look up and see. Let's look and see the Panthers TikTok. Let's see what they're at. So if I go to TikTok, and I look up MKE Panthers following, 3,743 followers. 3,743 followers.
Eagles 28, Chiefs 24.
Their last post, February 3rd, 2023. Please tell me this isn't the only TikTok account that exists. Official account of Milwaukee Athletics, hashtag United We Roar.
Chiefs 24.
UW Milwaukee posted about MKE Panthers. Does anybody recognize that guy? That guy hasn't been coached for 3 fucking seasons. Uh, 2021 users. Let's see. Milwaukee, let's say Milwaukee Panthers. Is there a different user? Panthers PCW 2020. It's just some guy. Just some random dude. The Panther dance team. The Panther dance team actually has a video from 2 days ago. Maybe the Panther dance team should be running your social media. You can't compete with TikTok? Why are you not on TikTok? Seriously, why are you not on TikTok? Joe, great point on peers compared to someone like me. Could peers also mean the players themselves, dance team, and cheerleaders? Yeah. Cactus Panther, who's a retired alum or a retired fan in Arizona, says, in other words, develop and grow student interest organically from the bottom up. Enable students with leadership qualities to initiate and cultivate a student fan base. This is what some of us have suggested in greater detail by posting several constructive comments through the years, including the 3 links I posted in this thread earlier today. Motivated students cannot do it alone, though. They need facilitation, encouragement, and trust from the administration. That starts from the top, trickles down throughout the staff, and makes its way to the student leaders. Boom! Cactus Panther makes a phenomenal point. Students need leadership. and they need the leadership to come from themselves, but they need that leadership to be fostered by the university. If I would say there's one quality that I have that no other fan before me or since have, is that I was a self-starter on running that student section and getting people out. I went to the marketing department when Jason Clark was the marketing assistant athletic director, and I said, give me a bunch of posters. We're gonna go run through the dorms, and we're gonna post these in every suite in the dorms. And we did. I grabbed 5 or 6 guys. We'd run through all 4 towers of the dorms in one afternoon, and the team would be like 6-15, and we'd have 500 students at a game. Extra Based Hit says, was just there last week. They didn't have any Adidas stuff, but they did have a nice Adidas. He's talking about the Panther merch store. Team unis, blah blah blah. Check the team store, Panther store in the Union. Here's the one that I wanted to point out. I did not. I don't know who this is, but they had a Jimmy Lemke length post, so I want to make sure that people feel encouraged to write that long. So I'm going to read this guy's post. The Panther Unknown. Yesterday, 2:31 p.m. Tuesday, via mobile. Via mobile. This guy wrote this shit with his thumbs. I guess I'll have to make an account and share my thoughts with you all, including some of the administrators there on the board, and seeing this message. For starters, I've been a longtime Panther fan, from the Jeter, Jordan, Baldwin, now Lundy era. There's multiple eras. I would say you have the Antrim era, when you first got back to Division I, where you were a really good basketball team. You had the Cobb era, which was a dog shit end of the 90s. I would actually merge Bo Ryan and Bruce Pearl into one era, and you call it the golden great coaches era. Because while Bo Ryan didn't win a lot, he did turn the team around like immediately, and he also recruited a lot of the guys who were central to our 2 NCAA tournament runs. Then I would call it the Jetarian era, the Jeter era, the 11 years post Bruce Pearl, where we were decent but not great. We ran into that era was largely defined by. That era was largely defined by the fact that we ran into the greatest mid-major of all time in Butler. And so we never got that tournament until it was later, and we got it because we kind of backed into it in 2014. And then I would call the Jordan Baldwin era, I would call it dog shit era 2. And then I would not. I do feel bad about LaVell Jordan, like including him in that, but like we fell off immediately. And then the Lundy era is what we're in right now. We'll call it the Magic era, the Magic era of Panther basketball. All right, so here he says, what this program under AB has come to is an utterly huge joke. We are laughed at by others, we are made fun of by others, and frankly, we are one of the most unserious in the league. It all starts with the woman at the top running the circus. I don't like calling her. I don't think any difficulties Amanda has because she's a woman. I think that Amanda being a woman, it has not stopped her from being better than the 3 clowns that preceded her. For as bad as I've felt that Amanda has been at her job in the past, and I don't think that she's bad at her job. In fact, I think she's pretty good at her job right now. For as bad as I've thought she's been in the past, she has been miles better than Andy Geiger or Rick Costello or George Coons. That is objectively a fact. So those guys were all men and she's a woman. So like, you could call her like a feminist. I don't think it's a feminist thing. It's. I don't think that her, you know, when I haven't liked what she's doing, it's not because she's a woman. You know what I mean? Anyways, now that does not take away. So this is back to the Panther unknown. Matt says it's just so easy to just follow dumb trends like having players sign old pics of themselves do something. Yeah, you know, shit. That'd be hilarious. I think they should do that. Nothing to do with it. She hired Bart fucking Lundy, for God's sake. What more do you want? Yeah, like, you weren't around in 2016. 2016 was, I mean, there's a reason I call it the Civil War of 2016. We were throwing haymakers at each other on message boards, on Twitter. There were people who got very personal with me. There were people who were friends of Amanda's who tried very hard to discredit me personally. I think it would be fascinating if somebody did a deep dive into the spring of 2016 and just like really did a deep dive, like a 30 for 30 kind of documentary as to like what happened with our fan base and our program in that time, because that shit was wild. The second message board, like the Panther U message board that I ran, like they had somebody sign up for that and then was DMing me on Twitter saying like, oh, Amanda Braun is going to hire this guy from Augustana College in South Dakota. And the person that like was telling me this was claiming that he was in Augustana and that he was close friends with the coach and that she told him he was hired. So what they were trying to do was like get me to report that. But because I had been so close to the Jeter staff, I was like, I'm done like doing journalist stuff. I'm just going to write a blog and start chucking grenades at everybody who pissed me off. Stack says, I get it. She made a very bad decision in 2016, but I don't know if it was a very bad decision. I think it was an early decision, and I think it was less about the decision as much as how it was handled. It's been almost 9 years. They think she more than made up for it with Bart, but obviously I was still in high school then, so it's in the past, right? I think some of these people are holding Amanda accountable for stuff that she may not be directly accountable because she's the face of the administration. She's the face of the athletic department administration. I look at her, she's kind of like Roger Goodell, right? Like, the NFL fans hate Roger Goodell. Roger Goodell's a piece of shit. We despise Roger Goodell. But Roger Goodell is there because he's the lightning rod that the fans can complain about so that the ownership of the NFL doesn't have to deal with like people coming to them. And with the same thing is like the athletic director is kind of like the lightning rod that fans can complain about because so that they're not pointing fingers at the board of trustees or at Chapman Hall. And so they want to complain about somebody, and Amanda Braun is there, just like Andy Geiger was there. Although I will say that Andy Geiger did make the putrid decision to go to the Kalachi Center on campus with the men's basketball program, which destroyed our season ticket base. Anyways, back to the message. That does not take anything away from Bart Lundy has done, because he has actually tried to revive this program and reunite the fan base, and I think he's been successful as he possibly could be at doing that. Back-to-back 20-win seasons, postseason berth, and a championship. Well, we don't have a championship with Bart. Also, as Stack brought up a minute ago, who hired Bart Lundy? Like, the fact she wouldn't let them play in the postseason still rubs the wrong way, but the hiring of Lundy has made it better. Yeah, it was very funny, like, in 2016 when, like, she would say things to the media and then immediately be proven wrong. Like there was one, she was like, coaches are not kept in the final year of their contract. You either cut them or you extend their deal. You never keep them. And there were examples of coaches in the conference who were in the last year of their contract. There was one point where she said you don't fire a coach and then let the team play in the postseason. That's not how that happens. And then Illinois fired Jim Gross. And then they played in the NIT with their assistant coaching the team. The championship appearance is what he meant. Yeah. Anyways, he has been the only flame that is still lighting for us right now. Our administration has some good people in it, but AB has rubbed off on many of those people. She done what? Our student attendance is laughed at by everyone. I don't know. I'm not laughing so much as crying most of the time we look at our student attendance. We had a total of 10 students the whole weekend for the Cream City Challenge. It's such a joke, it's not even funny. What Bart has done for this program is incredible. He's done the impossible, as one would say. We are finally a respected basketball team, but not program because we don't get no fans at our games. We keep running the same damn promotional nights and giveaways, and to be honest, nobody wants a goddamn clear bag. The clear bag, I forgot about the clear bag. Nobody is going to the game to get a clear bag and watch the Panthers. Nobody. And if you say you are lying to yourself. We have a ginormous business school with tons of marketing majors. Why don't we give them real-life experience and have them try calling businesses or sending emails to the 200,000 alumni we have in the state of Wisconsin to try and get materials or money for our giveaways and promotions? It is not hard. We are choosing to be bad. It is a choice at this point. I think that part is pretty well said. Stack says, no joke, we had more students at the final year of PBS games when I was a student than we get now. That is so sad. Agreed. There are so many things we can do, but we choose to have a clear bag getaway instead of using local businesses and brands for giveaways that people will actually come to the game to get and watch us play. As for student attendance, why don't we get off our butts and ask the students what they would want to get them to the games? I heard they had meetings with each other. Here's an idea. Why don't we have meetings with the students so we know what they want? This whole thing is not rocket science by any measure, but AB's laziness and lack of maturity, lack of common sense is rubbing off on everyone in the administration. There are tons and tons of ways to get students to the games, and for crying out loud, I heard one student say he didn't know there was a shuttle, so great job to everyone. I feel like this is somebody I talked to this weekend. There's a free ride downtown. Also, our student attendance is so bad the kids that sit in the front row for some games don't even go to Milwaukee. They are just fans of the programs and students of other schools. Has that ever happened before? That student attendance is that bad that students from other schools are in the front row? I saw a tweet of that the other day and had to reach out. Their answer was quite comical. What we have become is such a joke and a slap of the face to the players that came here, the coaches that came here, and everyone that came here. We are doing them no good right now in everything that we do. The Cream City Challenge was well run, but attendance was lacking, yet again. We are a downtown arena right next to a lot of stuff. Tickets, I'd say, are pretty darn cheap, and nobody wants to go because our games are marketed so poorly. This idea that we have no money is so incredibly false. There's a thing called donors and alumni, and we have 200,000 in the state of Wisconsin still. Why don't we pick up our cell phones because it's 2025, call them, have a conversation, tell them how good of a basketball program we are, and see if they'd be willing to donate. What a good job for some of the students in the business school trying to get into sales or marketing for them to get real-life experience. Who would have thought of that idea? I will say this, as somebody with a decade of sales experience, I don't think you want to be cold calling and asking for donations for the athletics department. I would cold call people, like if I were working for athletics right now, I would be cold calling people and offering them tickets to the Cleveland State game. That's obvious, right? Like we should be doing that, right? Like that's pretty obvious. Luke, 100%. Yeah. But like with sales, where like, again, if I were putting my shoes on and I were like in Joe Lancer's role, or if I were just working in the ticket office, or I were working in the athletic department, I was trying to sell tickets and raise money, what I would be doing is I would be going and reaching out to everybody who previously held season tickets and no longer does. I was told by somebody in athletics that they have gone back to the 2021 season. Have we talked to Joe about what he's doing to get more students for the Cleveland State game? No, we just, everybody made it abundantly clear to the athletic department that what they've done thus far is unacceptable. He has not said anything to me about how they're getting more students for the Cleveland State game, but it's also, right before Thanksgiving. If he doesn't have anything on Monday, I'll be pissed, but I don't expect him to have an answer for me when, all these people are going home for Thanksgiving. If I'm in sales, right, I was told that the athletic department, they went back as far as 2021 to see who had season tickets and had dropped off. And I was like, how long ago do you have data for? And I was told that they have data from like 2011 and 2012. I'm like, so what did you do all summer? Because if I'm a Panther fan, or if I'm selling and trying to get Panther fans to come out, I'm calling every number for fans who have dropped off, and I am trying to get into their at their kitchen table, right? I'm trying to go have I'm trying to go have a conversation at their kitchen table and saying, hey, I know you haven't been a Panther season ticket holder for a long time. The good news is that while inflation has gone rampant everywhere, Panther basketball is inflation proof. Season tickets still start at $100 today, just like they did when you stopped being a season ticket holder. Courtside season tickets are no longer aren't really any different than they were then. Should they be? Maybe, but they're not, because we want people to show up to games. It is more important for us that you guys are there and in the arena than it is for us to maximize profits. We have a special season that's happening right now. This looks like it's going to be the best season since the Sweet 16. Do you really want to be, do you really want to be going to your first game towards the end of the year? If they say, I'm just very busy, you say, hey, look, let me know what game. Let me know. What's your schedule like? I got a Thursday night game next week. I got a Thursday night game next week. Can I put 4 tickets? I'll give you 4 tickets right now if you want to come out to the game. And I would also make sure that I marked where every one of those seats is. And they wouldn't be bullshit seats. They would be good seats. Because one asset we have is an abundance of seats. So giving away a seat, giving away a ticket to a game is no big deal. I mean, look at the background from I realize it's not during a game, but look at all those chairs. They're not full during games. I say, hey, look, I understand that, it's been a long time. I understand why you dropped off the program. I think that's totally reasonable. Maybe, if it was during 2016, I would say, hey, man, I was angry too. I was angrier than most. You may remember the things that I was writing about Amanda Brown. Well, guess what? I'm working with her because I want her to succeed. Because I want this basketball program to succeed. All that stuff is water under the bridge. It's time for us to all come home. And you use the language like that. Come home. People are going to complain that the Packers play at the same time on Thursday. Same excuses we always hear. Yeah, it's unacceptable. Students are... I don't care. I don't care that the Packers are playing. There are plenty of students who don't give a flying fuck about the Packers. You know how many students are from Illinois? Anyways, to finish his thing, this is nonsense. None of this should happen. Back-to-back 20-win seasons, amazing players, coaches. We can't put more than 10 students in the student section over a 3-day span. It's embarrassing. I love Bart, love the assistants, love the players. Doing my part to get people to these games because I know our administration will fail yet again. Go Panthers, go. That is a... I don't agree with all of it. Obviously, I've pointed out where I disagree with some of it. But I agree with the anger. I don't know if it's 100% placed in the perfect spot. But I hope we all want Amanda Braun to succeed. I hope that people, I want people to listen to me when I say it's time to bury the hatchet and get back. Because there are a lot of people who are going to miss out on a really fun year, and I don't want them to do it. Cactus Panther, who lives in Phoenix, and he goes to Grand Canyon basketball games, says, here's a contrast in school spirit and student engagement. I'm watching GCU take on Stanford right now on True TV. There are hundreds of GCU havocs for this one game. By the way, the student section hasn't had a name for us for years because they don't want to do clutchy crazies, even though, and I will say this, when you think about crazies and you think about a student section, you think about Cameron Indoor and Duke and the Cameron Crazies. What if I told you the Clutchy Crazies actually predate the Cameron Crazies? Little bit of history. In the early 1970s, the university was looking at cutting its was looking at cutting the football program as well as the Peck School, what would become the Peck School of the Arts. So they let both of them know that they were on the chopping block. And the expectation was that the university community, the students, would kind of get behind one of them, and then whoever had the most support would get to stick around. Either the football program or the arts the arts department. What they did not expect was that the School of the Arts and the football team and the football fans would all join up and join forces and say, hey, you shouldn't cut either of these programs. And the chancellor at the time, who was on his way out because he was retiring, was a guy named Joe Klatschi. He's German born. He's Johann Martin Klatschi, and he's the namesake for the Klatschi Center. He was originally provost of the university in 1937 and became the chancellor, and the chancellor of what became the University of Wisconsin-Milwaukee, and retired in the early 70s. And he came out and said, I don't think that either of these programs should be cut. I think that they should be supported by everybody. And I think that if you give it time, people will support both, and you'll be happy that you kept them. This was before cable, so, football wasn't something that, had an opportunity to, be a way to advertise the university to the rest of the country. This is the early 70s. I mean, this was at the time as what we call small college football. So you had large college and small college, and they became Division 1A, like the bowl division, and then 1AA, the FCS, the championship, the tournament, like North Dakota State, UNI, Youngstown State, like that division. And UWM was that division. And the fans all got together and said, hey, we want this program, we want both of these programs to stay. We want football to stay. We want the arts to stay. And there was a game at Baker Fieldhouse, which is where Lubar Hall is now, the business building. Baker Fieldhouse was the original home for the basketball program. It's UWM. They actually had even earlier buildings back in like the late in 1896 when the program started. And a student, an art student, came with a sign, and the sign said, keep them both. We're clutchy crazy. Because one of the board of trustees called Joe Clutchy crazy, like, we can't afford both of these programs. You're crazy. And the students were like, hey, that's our chancellor. That's our chancellor, so he's Clutchy crazy. I'm Clutchy crazy. And ever since then, the fans at basketball games were called the Clutchy Crazies. And when you destroy a lot of institutional memory by removing a lot of people from the department, and just, over time where people aren't working on keeping student attendance up, aren't working at, like, building that bridge to continue things, what ended up happening is people forget, you forget things that are important. Like the history of why you were called the Clutchy Crazies in the first place, even when you were playing at the arena. I mean, the Clutchy Crazies name actually even predates the Clutchy Center, not just the Cameron Crazies. Like, the Clutchy Center was under construction, and it wasn't called the Clutchy Center until later, when they named it after Clutchy. Not a big deal that there are hundreds of GCU Havocs for the one game. The band is there too. Not a big deal, you say? The game is 250 miles away from campus, a drive of more than 4 hours. No, it's too close to the Thanksgiving break excuses for this one. How many students attended the Cream City Challenge, which is 5 miles from campus? There's so much to learn from successful programs, including initiatives that cost little or nothing. If only UWM's leadership would have the interest and desire to reach out and try. Sadly, it appears they are comfortable with and accepting of the status quo. Another fan says, I wanted a coattail on one point. At Sunday's game, 5 of us season ticket holders were encircled by St. Thomas fans. Not absurd, you say, when you sit in the cheap seats. Only one problem. Before the season, we upgraded to the Park Avenue seats. We now sit in the 4th row, facing the Panthers logo, some of the best seats in the house. As has been stated earlier, this would not be encountered anywhere else. Somebody says, save me the Reginald K. Dwight, who's everybody's favorite person on the board, says, save me the AB hate post. Shit is tired and lame at this point. Some of y'all need a grip to get a grip in regards to her. Yeah, I mean, he's not wrong. Like, to avoid being that, 17-year-old meme, like, leave Britney alone. Leave Amanda alone. She's doing everything she can to be better. He says, then Elton John says, GCU has been winning lately and in the NCAA tourney, apples to oranges. We've won almost 50 games in the last 2 years. We're 5-3 right now. We won 22. We were 47 games through Coach Lundy's first 2.2 seasons as head coach of the Panthers. does that tell you? Duct Tape Pound says, and it was very recently a for-profit school comparing a public university to a business that can basically print money. Very recently, it's called Apple. Well, sure, like that's fine. Cactus says, definitely apples to apple. If the apple farmer cannot sell his product, even though the apples are delicious, and the orange farmer is selling oranges like crazy, maybe the apple farmer should find out why the orange farmer is doing so well. The apple farmer who keeps doing the same thing over and over will not have success. The point's not about GCU. It's about Milwaukee's lack of school spirit and student participation, as well as leadership's complacency. That's why the post is in this thread. GCU is just an example. Lubs fans could feel very down about the program right now. In 2 of its last 3 games, it had disappointing losses to Arizona State and Cal Davis. Its base is way beyond result dependent. It's a cultural thing. I've been following the program since early in the D1 transition when it was playing mostly MEAC and SWAC teams in non-con, as well as the likes of Chicago State and UMKC in conference. At that time, GCU was nowhere near as good as Milwaukee and had no D1 tradition, yet its students had the same loyalty and school spirit you see today. It will take more than a new variety of pizza to get the students involved. It will take cultural change driven by the students and facilitated by university leadership. And I think that's an important distinction to make, is that it's a cultural change driven by the students but facilitated by university leadership. You need people in the university who are, reaching out and trying to figure out how to do it. Matt G says, all this hand-wringing about student attendance is weird. The solution is simply win consistently, make the NCAA tournament, be competitive, and nothing else matters. I don't think that's true. Because the thing that really... Ben Goodhue has subscribed. The Don. Chat, say hello to Ben Goodhue. One of my predecessors running the student section. He led the student section. He was one of the leaders of the student section at the Sweet 16. He can give you advice on tort reform. Ugh. And once got so drunk at Valparaiso that he walked into a library and started shouting at people because he thought he was in the basketball arena and got arrested and spent the night in jail. Dude, Ben, we gotta have you on to talk about like life as a Panther fan when you were around, because I think a lot of people would dig that. I know I would. I would definitely love to have that. Anyways, Matt G on the board says, all this hand-wringing about students is weird. Simply win consistently. Well, that's the thing, right? Is like the Panthers won consistently when Bruce was coach. And then when they got to the point where they were winning at a high level, the university didn't really do anything to make that culture permanent. The winning culture, sure, but like people had a lot of fun when Bruce Pearl was head coach. And the university didn't do anything to try and keep that going. It wasn't that Rob Jeter didn't win enough, although of course that doesn't help. But like, you can't wait until the basketball team is good to start doing these things, because if you're not doing it and then the basketball team gets good and then you'll be scrambling to try and put together the experience that people need, that people want to be a part of your program and build that culture that you want. You can't wait until things are good. You have to get things going so that the infrastructure for it is in place when you are successful. That is why it's so incredibly important right now. That tweet that Frank had on Friday night when he was angry about the student attendance, and he put it out there and 150 fans liked it. And a lot of people started talking about it, and they talked about it on the message board, and they talked about it in this. And people were calling the athletic department, complaining, and people were telling the Joe Lancer and different people in the athletic department that they're not pleased with the attendance, especially from students. I think that we may look at that, because we let them know directly that this is not acceptable. And when I say we, I mean really the fans. Like I had one tweet Friday night that I was like, most of our student section was made up of St. Thomas basketball players, and that's disgusting. Or I don't remember exactly what I said, but like it was something along those lines. That's all I said. Really, it was driven by Frank's tweet and then everybody else backing it up. And we may look upon, at the end of the season, if they do things the right way, if they're able to put together that kind of, if they're able to put together the group to, if they're able to put together the kind of experience, the kind of, group to get students out to games and get students continuing to come out to games, if they build and we have hundreds of students in the student section by the end of the year, we may look at this time right now as a tipping point. And so keep the pressure on the athletic department, on the university as a whole, that this is something they need to pay attention to, because I disagree strongly with Matt. You don't wait for the success to come. You have to be ready for it when it gets here. Because if there's one thing that this university really sucked at when they went to the Sweet 16, it's that they went to the Sweet 16, and before Bruce Pearl was even introduced as the head coach of Tennessee, you had all these fans with their checkbooks out saying, what are we going to build? What are we going to do? What are we going to, what's the next step? And Bud Haiti, the athletic department, the university, they didn't really have, they didn't have an answer. And so they weren't building something they didn't build something that was sustained. You need to figure out how to build something that is sustainable so that your lean years, they averaged 5,000 that year and then 5,300 in 05-06. If they had built the right infrastructure, if they had the people in the program, if they had the fans believing that they had to be a part of something special, that they had to be that you're a part of this, that you're an integral part of that you're part of the foundation of this program, you have a lot of people who are less willing to abandon the program in 06-07 when they go 9-22. And I don't think the Panthers are going to go 9-22 next year, but they only have like one scholarship left, and most of the incoming recruiting class is freshmen. Age wins the basketball. Matt says, I'm only 30, but I remember as a kid going to UWM games in Green Bay during the Pearl era and had a section full of UWM students. Yes. In fact, I think as a fan base, I think that's something that we want to do this year. We have on December 11th, so the Wednesday, 2 weeks from tonight, actually. 2 weeks from tonight, the Panthers are in Green Bay for the rivalry game. We want to have a caravan of cars leaving from Milwaukee. The game is at 6 p.m. instead of 7. So we want that caravan to be leaving here around like 2 o'clock. Get there a little early, park near the arena, have some kind of group event. Sarah says students want to go to the games, but actually getting them there is what they need to work on. Yeah, 100%. If students don't know that there are shuttle buses, it's hard to get them to go. Yeah, Stack, we need to start the dialogue on that ASAP. In fact, if you want to do it, start a thread on the board, or I'll start it. I'll let me start the thread because I'll put it on the message board and we'll talk about it. Hey, kitties. My cats are playing tag. I thought humans invented tag. They didn't. You're it. They just tagged my one cat, Freya, and she's like, what the fuck? She didn't expect me to tag her. Everybody's right. Everybody's good. But you need to build the culture while things aren't great or while things are in like early season stuff, because people need to be able, when when the Panthers are, when they're 23 and when they're 23-8 or something at the end of the year, and we're trying to get as many people to go to Indy as possible for the conference tournament, we need to have a lot of people. We need to make sure that there are a lot of people who have been going to games at that point, students included. Maybe that 50-50 raffle is something where, like, maybe that 50-50 raffle, maybe that 50% is paying for the student attendance at the, at the conference tournament, at the NCAA tournament. We got to figure out how to get money somehow so that they can do some of these things. Duct Tape Pound says, agreed about there being things UWM students can do to increase participation. Did a great job for the Wright State tournament game in 2023. Everybody agrees with that. Everybody points that out. In the Lundy era, that Wright State game at the Kalachi Center was electric. You had maybe 10 seats in the entire Kalachi Center that were not filled with people. That the crowd was insane. They asked me halfway through that season, I think it was the Robert Morris game, they're like, hey, we're getting students to the games, but they don't really know what they're doing. Could you, show them and, run the student section for them? And I was like, I'm 35 years old. Yeah, I'm 37 years old, so, I'm not doing that this year, but, I did that for that game, and I thought that we did a pretty good job. I thought that game was fantastic. I loved that game. Wright State got blasted tonight on the court and from us in the crowd, 100%. I mean, that... And Wright State was a really good team, too. We did great. Did a great job in that game. Lundy was out there making appearances on TV and radio. Social media presence was strong. I'm guessing advertising across campus was strong. If students really don't know there are free shuttles to the arena for games, there needs to be more messaging about that. Maybe have a TikTok account that doesn't post its latest post in early 2023. I'm just throwing that out there. You have to go with you have to go where the students are, and I'm told that students want to be engaged on their phones. Well, they're on TikTok on their phones, so why are you not posting on TikTok? Especially when TikTok, when you're posting videos to TikTok, it makes it so incredibly easy to also post on Instagram and other social media. Sarah says, we need to use the players to our advantage. They probably will be more happy to make videos and stuff to send out to the student. Some of them are. Yeah, I mean, especially guys like Simeon Murchison. For those who don't know, Simeon Murchison is out for the year with a torn Achilles, I think it is. And he's also a guy who happens to be on the spectrum. So he has a very interesting place in Panther as far as the Panther basketball. So it's interesting that you could have him out there trying to get past his social anxiety stuff, talking to students, or maybe he's on the video talking about what's it like to be a player, be an athlete while he, is getting over. Like I've always been fascinated about that. And one thing that I loved about this program, and the part where I really felt like I loved, I loved the Lundy program was, Simeon came in and he was very sheepish and he was very quiet last year. And then over the course of the season, you can see him start coming out of his shell as like a player, to where like he's the one leading the chants on the sidelines, and he's like getting into the games a ton, and he's not really playing much because he's a true freshman and a walk-on at that. Like, kids will respond to that shit. But it's also like stuff that's going to get people just excited, like interested at all. Like, this is a guy who has a unique perspective on what it's like to be a student athlete with, who is neuroatypical. As somebody who is neuroatypical himself, I find that interesting. Reposting the players' content, 100%. Doing the life during the summer, yeah. I could tell a story from this summer. But I couldn't tell the entire story. But I did spend an afternoon and some of an evening with a few of the players. We had just moved down here like a month earlier, and I was out riding my bike, and I was about to like go from our apartment down to Bradford Beach. And one of the players is like, "Hey," and I was like, "Oh, yeah, hey, what's up, man?" And I won't say who the player was. And it was him with two of the new guys, and he's like, "Hey, this is this guy. This is Jimmy. He's like one of the biggest fans." And like, "Oh, cool, man." And like, "Dude, that bike is awesome." That sick ass electric bike. And they're like, "Where are you out to?" I'm like, "I'm going to Bradford Beach to like sit around and drink beer and do nothing," because it was like a Saturday afternoon. They're like, "Dude, that's awesome." I did not give college students beer. I swear to God. Actually, they wouldn't have taken it from me anyways. But like, we did hang out for a bit, and it was very cool. It was very fun, and I was thinking like this would be like a cool thing to, not like the trying to pick up girls part for them, but like they weren't doing anything. They weren't doing anything bad. They were great. They're good kids. They were just having fun. And anytime you can like bring up Bradford Beach in the context of UWM, it's good for like recruiting for the university, because like, hey, we have a fucking beach like next to campus. You should like come check us out. DTP goes on, if students really don't know there are free shuttles, there needs to be more messaging on that. Students who are on TikTok then go to basketball games, increase the TikTok presence. Boom. I hope the athletic department is open to new ideas of the program's biggest fans, as long as the ideas are reasonable. Yeah, I mean, a lot of times, I have great ideas that are not reasonable. So in recent years, I've tried to change that to become more of like, I've tried to change those ideas and try and also think of like, how can we do this with few resources? Is like, how can we do this with limited amount of people and then limited amount of dollars? Like, that's why I want that top-down demand from Chapman Hall. Chancellor Money needs to make it clear to the university housing that like, people who are promoting the basketball game need free reign inside the dorms. I mean, there's a limit to that. Like, you don't go into, you're not like knocking on people's, doors, but like, going floor to floor, talking to people in the common rooms is not like bad. That's a good thing. Talking to people in the cafeteria is a good thing. Handing out tickets, like, those are good things. Let them post posters wherever the hell they want. College athletics is a business. Education is not a business in most places. It was to Grand Canyon. They got a big stack of cash from putting in the position of where most of the universities aren't. We have other peers we should be looking to. I'd rather stay as far away from Grand Canyon as possible. Maybe got to look at other mid-major programs in urban areas to bring out student and others attendance. So you can see how Oakland, Northern Kentucky, Wright State constantly have higher attendance totals than us. See what they're doing and we are not. Yeah, I mean, you could have players go into the dorms to hand out tickets. Yeah. Also, like, we should, like, apart from the university, we could be, like, funding, like, something of a party culture with the program. You know, like, there should be, hey, you went to this Panther game, like, and you, like, ran the student section, like, you want to run the student section and get a bunch of people out to games? Here, here's $100. Here's $100 towards a keg for your next party. Like, I want people to be able to, like, let's put some cash in these kids' hands if they're going to be working to get students out to games. You know, separate from the university, we can start doing shit like that. Players are in the dining hall quite a bit, but I don't think most people don't know they are players. Sarah, are you a student? I don't, I'm curious as to, like, what kind of, you know, what part of the university community you hail from. Like, are you an employee of the university? Are you a student in the res halls? Are you a student in upperclassmen housing? Are you an RA? Also, a group of people that the athletic department should have, like, direct connection with is all of the RAs. Moving down. Maybe you missed where Reginald K. Dwight says where UWM, if they made the tourney three the last 4 years, they'd be seeing better student attendance. Yeah, like, yes, winning is part of it. But everybody here who's watching this video does not play basketball. We do not coach the basketball team. So when we're talking about all this other stuff, it's because you're a freshman in Sandburg. That's so cool. I'm so happy that you're here and you're, like, active and you're, like, a big basketball fan. That's fucking awesome, Sarah. I'm very happy for that. My wife is also named Sarah, although she has an H at the end of her Sarah. That's very cool. When I was a freshman, actually, the entire time I was a student, I was a commuter from West Dallas. But when I was a freshman, my college girlfriend, freshman year, she lived on the 25th floor of North Tower. And one time I tried walking up the stairs instead of taking the elevator, and by the time I got to her floor, I was, like, dead. It was awful. It was the worst. Let me move on to T-Bone's back. T-Bone is a frequent, long-time poster. Key point you make here is that GCU has had a tradition of school spirit, even when they stunk and played the nobody teams at D1. Milwaukee has no such tradition going back to joining D1. There have been spurts. Those spurts have all come when either or all or a number of things have happened. A successful year or continuation of numerous years of success, actual rivalries with hated universities, coaches, and or players, rivalries when the rivals themselves had quality teams. All of these things contributed to the hype that brought people to the games. In early to mid-90s, Green Bay was a perennial tournament bracket buster. In the early 2000s, there was Butler, Green Bay, and UIC that was coached by Jimmy Collins, who had that running feud with Bruce Pearl. Dude, that that UIC UWM rivalry when Bruce Pearl was coach was sick. Like that was some awesome stuff. All these things contributed to the hype that brought people to games. I think it's highly overlooked, but Bruce Pearl was a tireless promoter of the program on campus and off. We have yet to see someone close to selling of the program as Bruce did. I mean, if I were... Like, I feel like that would be the place that I would want to be in if I were, like, working for the university. Would be like... I'm part of the basketball program. And my job is to get you out to games. I'd be the guy hopping up on a chair in the cafeteria. Like, so Bruce Pearl was the coach from 01 to 05. In 2005, he took us to the Sweet 16, which is the final 16 teams in all of the country. We were the only quote-unquote mid-major, which is like... So, like, there's high majors, mid-majors, low majors. High majors would be like Madison or Marquette. Milwaukee is a mid-major. And in 2005, the way the NCAA tournament is structured that way, then is structured the same way now. The round of 64 was the first round. And the round of 32 is the second round. So you win on that's always a Thursday, Saturday, or Friday, Sunday. So from Thursday to Sunday in the first week of the NCAA tournament, you have all these games to whittle it down to 16 teams. And then you have the Sweet 16 games on Thursday and Friday the next week, and then the Elite 8 games on Saturday and Sunday. And then the 4 teams that come out of that are the Final 4. That's like the big holy grail. UWM's best finish ever is we went to the Sweet 16 in 2005 when a guy named Bruce Pearl was coach. He's now the head coach at Auburn University. When the Panthers won the round of 32 game against Boston College to get to the Sweet 16, Milwaukee was the only school that was a mid-major. Everybody else was what they call a high major, or like schools you expect to be there. Like the Badgers were in the Sweet 16, and they made it to the Elite 8. North Carolina was in the Sweet 16. Illinois had the best team they've ever had. In fact, that was who we ended up playing and losing to in the Sweet 16. They had some great players on their team. Some of them still played in the NBA very recently. So like we were very good that year. And when we those like 4 or 5 days between the second round and the Sweet 16 game that was played out right outside Chicago, UWM was the center of the sports universe. And when I say that, I mean like everybody descended on campus. The entire country was talking about UWM. Like the Today Show was on campus. All of the sports shows were on campus. They were talking to students. They were talking to people. You couldn't go anywhere. I was a senior in high school at the time, and everybody who was going to UWM the next year as part of my class, all of a sudden, we were like the coolest fucking kids in school. Everybody's like, fuck yeah, UWM. It's like, yeah, this like school that like nobody's paying attention to is all of a sudden like everybody fucking loves it. You know, and I had actually been to, I had gone to my first game was the Horizon League Championship game at the arena when they beat Detroit to get to the tournament in the first place. So like I was already into it, but like it was all of a sudden just like super cool. Like my best friend and I were like seniors in high school, and all of a sudden like we're cool to everybody because like we're going to the school that's like in the Sweet 16. Like this is so fucking like everybody's so excited about UWM, and that's one of the reasons why being successful is so important for the university as a whole. Is that the further you get in the tournament, the bigger a deal it is that you're there. And the bigger a deal it is that you're there, the more you have people who want to be a part of it and be a part of you and be a part of your program. Like if we get to the tournament, getting to the Sweet 16 is really about getting the right draw and, having a hot game or two. If we get there and, our guys are having a good shooting night, we can get to the Sweet 16. That is not hard. Oakland was in the second round last year. Oakland beat us in the Horizon League title game, like right at the end. Within the last few minutes, they kind of pulled away from us. And when they went and beat Kentucky in the first round, and then they were the talk of the country. And they weren't the only mid-major that was in the second round. There were other mid-majors that were there, but all of a sudden everybody knows who Jack Golke from Milwaukee is because he's the sharpshooter for Oakland. Everybody knows Trey Townsend. Everybody's descending, and I will tell you, the attention that Oakland got for those 2 days between beating Kentucky and losing to NC State pales in comparison to what we got from going to the Sweet 16 in 2005. So I sincerely hope that in your time at UWM that you get to be a part of something like that. When I was a freshman, the following year, we went to the second round. We beat Oklahoma, and then we lost to Florida, who went on to win the national championship. In fact, one of the things that's funny about UWM basketball is that we're notoriously unlucky. In 2006, we beat Oklahoma, we lose to Florida. Florida goes on to win the national title. In the Sweet 16, we lost in the Sweet 16 to Illinois. They were national runner-up. We just we run into teams that are great. In 2010 and 2011, we got eliminated in the Horizon League tournament, and we did better than anybody else did in the Horizon League in trying to beat this other team, Butler, and Butler ended up being national runner-up in 2010 and 2011. So when I said earlier that we ran into the greatest mid-major of all time, that's who I'm talking about. Florida that beat us when I was a freshman in college, they had a player named Al Horford who still plays for the Boston Celtics today. The guy's old, man. So, it's important to do well. And, that guy, Bruce Pearl, he would go to the dorms. He wouldn't just hand out tickets. Ben or Frank can tell you, he would hop up on tables and he'd shout and he'd be like, guys, we need you at this game. And it would be for a regular season game against Cleveland State, who was garbage at the time. They'd be like, we need you at this game. The Panthers need you. I need you. I need you to be there. You gonna be there? I better see you at that game. And the students loved that shit. They ate that up because Bruce Pearl was deputizing them, right? He was making them feel like they were part of an army, and he's the general, and they're part of an army that's going to help win that basketball. Something that in the long run doesn't matter, right? But it gives you that sense of community, and it makes things fun when you're here. The student engagement is important. And we need that engagement to be up because when we go to the NCAA tournament this year, which I believe we're going, I believe with the right draw, we can go far. We have a real opportunity, and I just don't want it to be squandered so that you're one of the only students at the games by the end of the year. I want you to be in the front row of the student section when the Panthers clinch the Horizon League championship this year. They're still playing tag. I totally agree we should look at other programs, including the likes of those you mentioned, DTP. If our leadership truly had the desire to improve school spirit and student participation, they would be looking wherever and whenever for opportunities from the successful programs overall to the ones that do specific initiatives to consider. For example, one of the specific initiatives I have advocated for is treating the students like VIPs, in part by relocating the student section to the sidelines. Another Horizon League school, Purdue Fort Wayne, places its student section on the sidelines, which became very apparent when BJ jawed at them at our game there last year. Is there anything our leadership can learn from that? Again, this is just one example of an initiative by an institution more closely aligned with ours. It's not intended to turn this thread into a discussion on student section relocation. That's for other threads. I will say that student section relocation is not all that great. We should be playing the game in the dining hall since they're not being used. I mean, yeah, like, the game should be, but there should also be, like, a looping video where, like, Bart Lundy or, like, players are like, we need you at this game, and not to, like, say, like, we need you at this game, and then there's, like, a flash of, like, the next game is Cleveland State. Like, I want a video for every game where Bart Lundy's like, hey, we need you for Cleveland State. Hey, Green Bay is the Green Bay is our arch rival. Look at what happened here last year. Like, we want you at this game. It's a huge game. What hasn't been mentioned is what I've seen happen over the years is Ty Runner, who was in chat earlier. Some blame on the team can be given too. I've seen games get extensively promoted for students, draw them in, and then seemingly every time the team plays a stinker of a game, loses by 15 plus, and 3/4 of those students who could have been swayed don't return. That seems to always happen, with the exception of the whiteout game at the Kalachi and the versus Wright State 2 years ago. I mean, they gotta win, right? But they're winning now, so let's do it. Matt G says, that's why Bart talked about being embarrassed over the lack of school spirit and support for the team earns the jerking off motion. Bart needs to worry about his teams crapping their pants every single time there's been the tiniest amount of expectation put on them before he remotely bothers himself with why students aren't interested in coming to watch the basketball team play. The fact that this is a continued discussion is actually so stupid. Can you imagine a high school debating why students are going to come to watch their basketball team that has been in the toilet for over a decade? No, it's not, literally not even brought up, because when the team is a winner, attendance takes care of itself, and even high school students understand that, but somehow this is a baffling thing for a D1 college. So then Elton John says, yeah, the crowd at UCF isn't exactly great IMO. It wasn't any louder than a Mecca crowd, and the in-game house were about the same as that, and that's a Big 12 school. It's a Big 12 school. It's been a Big 12 school for 5 seconds. Now, is it rocking when they play Houston or KU? I'm sure, but it was pretty average tonight. I had this dude who chirped the same 2 things all night right in my ear. It sounds like Reginald K. Dwight is at the... was at the game tonight. There are some fans on the message board. So Reginald K. Dwight on the uwmfreak.proboards.com message board is a guy who, like, a lot of fans don't like. I like what he says sometimes. I often disagree with him, but I don't dislike him or anything. They've been trying to figure out who he is. They've been trying to figure out who he is for a while. So, like, it's funny that he put out a clue, and one of the clues is that he was there for the game this evening. Because the game was in Orlando, you know? I would say... Sarah says, agree, the TV in the dining halls aren't even on. I mean... You have to use what you got, and what we got is a lot of stuff. John Mistely, or Misteel, just tweeted 2 hours ago at me, at Joe Lance, the ticket manager, at Ryan Stofield, who's a season ticket holder, and Amanda Braun. He tweets, new song choices will help bring students into the Panther Arena. Also, marketing students can post students having fun creating FOMO. FOMO, the acronym being fear of missing out. Let's make this a special year. He tried to tag Coach Lundy. He wrote down Sweet Caroline, Build Me Up Buttercup, Mr. Brightside, Enter Sandman, Jump Around, Thunderstruck, Brown Eyed Girl, Round Ball Rock. I love Round Ball Rock. Da-da-da-da-da-da. Da-da-da-da-da-da-da. Cosign. When you're in it's also the music, and a lot of the music that they play is hot garbage. I do think they'll pump it up for as, like, lame as that song is. I think it should stay. But I do want to say, like, we could do better. We could do a lot better with a lot of the music, so. Dude, this stream is 3 hours and 45 minutes long. And you guys were engaged with me the entire... I mean, different people were engaged at different points. But, like, the shit's wild. That you guys basically sat here and listened to me jabber about Panther basketball for almost 4 hours. I mean, I could do this until 4 in the morning. I really could. But... Like you guys, I gotta get home. I not get home. I am home. Like, I gotta get to sleep. I got a pretty long day of, like, 2 family Thanksgiving dinners tomorrow. This is crazy. 3 hours and 45 minutes, and stream was, like, talking the entire time. I love you guys. You guys are fantastic. If you don't follow me on Twitter, shoot me if you're on, whether it's X or Instagram, I'm also at Jimmy Lemke. Didn't think me asking about Lundy doing a radio show would last this long. Yeah, right? Like, I was ready to sign off, and then you asked the question about the radio show. I said that an hour ago. No, I said that 2 hours ago, Luke. I said that 2 hours ago. If you guys don't follow me on Twitter, follow me and shoot me a message, because I like having new people. I think you guys are great, and I want to make sure that we're keeping in touch. And Sarah, I actually really want you to reach out to me, because Sarah, literally give me like a social media platform, and I'll give you what my username is on there, so you can shoot me a message, because I want to get engaged with students directly, because I want to help fix things, and I want to pick your brain, not tonight. Tonight we all need to get some sleep, but, like, very soon, sometime before next Thursday's game with Cleveland State, I want to pick your brain, so that when I do talk to the athletic department, it's it's all, it's pretty good. But yeah, send me a follow, guys. Shoot me a DM so I know. Also, if anybody ever wants to join, like, the voice chat portion of this, we do have the Discords. Right now I'm live in the Horizon Roundtable, which is, like, the Horizon League website, like the fan website. I'm live in that Discord, but we also have a Panther U Discord. And I'm always happy to, like, bring it out, even if you don't want to, like, be a co-host, or you just want to, like, talk or, like, shoot the shit. Like, I'm all about it. So I'm gonna get off, because it's 11:54 p.m. I hope you all have a wonderful Thanksgiving. Have a good night. I will be talking to you guys Saturday afternoon. The Discord will be live. I think I'm going to move it to the Panther U Discord for the future, because I don't really care to have like Horizon League fans as much as like Panther fans directly. I'm gonna move that. So we'll talk, like we'll do like what I'll do is I put the game on in the Discord stream, so that you know, instead of like having to log on to ESPN Plus yourself, you can like join my thing, and then you're watching with us, and then you can chat and voice. But yeah, good night, Sarah. It's been wonderful talking to you, not just tonight, but the other nights that you've been joining the streams. I hope I get to meet you and your friends and stuff like next Thursday, and we'll talk before then, because like I said, I want to make sure that I want to get more of you guys out to games. So if you guys want, you can join the Discord on Saturday. Just follow me on like Twitter. I'll throw up the links, or I'll throw up the link on this description. Just check it out later, and then we'll do that. And then as soon as the game's over, we just go right into this Panther U live stream on YouTube. So have a wonderful night, guys. Thanks, and have a happy Thanksgiving.